I guess I'll just awkwardly give you an intro really quick.
Cool. Yeah, I love sitting
And listening to people describe you.
It's awesome.
Okay, so Vera Drew is the People's Joker. She made a movie called The People's Joker that you should watch, and that's about it. And we met waiting for a bus in Wichita, Kansas, to go see The People's Joker.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I was running late for the screening, and it was like a very humbling experience because I was dressed. I wear clown makeup for most of the screenings, but I was like wearing like a unicorn horn too, and like it was really one of my dumber looks that I had, and I felt really because I clearly was pissed off, and I just felt ridiculous being pissed off and a diva while dressed like a unicorn.
No, because I think I was like running really late, so I was not sure what was going on. Like, with the only other person waiting was like wearing a unicorn horn, and I wasn't sure like if I should talk to you, like what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's fun. It was fun driving over here, like wearing because I wear clown makeup all the time now. It's I think my favorite thing is to watch how little people know how to like handle being around it.
Yeah.
It makes people uncomfortable.
Just in like everyday situations, or
yeah,
screenings too, I guess, right?
Well, screenings too. I mean, it's like it's nice. It's created a layer of it almost like adds a layer of protection because the movie is very vulnerable. Like the People's Joker's like very autobiographical, and it kind of just feels like putting all my dirty laundry out there. So like having ridiculous looks and like clown makeup has always made it feel a little bit more like I don't know, like it gives me some sort of like leg up or something. It makes me
Totally.
like feel a little bit more comfortable. But just like out in the real world, like walking around and stuff, it's like I think people hate clowns kind of. They either like hate clowns or they're like have like a latent like fetish for clowns.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a trendy thing in the past few years, or like and like juggalos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been to the gathering of the juggalos?
No, I'm hoping I can go next year.
Yeah.
You're a raver, right?
Not really. I mean, I sometimes, I guess.
Well, like
I wouldn't identify.
You go.
as a raver.
Sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah.
make any assumptions, but I just judging from your social media presence, do you see a lot of clowns at like music festivals and stuff? Because I feel like that's where I first started noticing it. Was like when I was a raver for a little bit, and that was where I really started.
No, I mean, I don't go to like a lot of festivals and events and stuff like that. And I feel like the like rave stuff I go to is like techno. It's like all people pretending they live in Berlin, so they're all wearing black, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that being. I went to Coachella this year, but I can't say I really saw any clowns.
That's disappointing.
Oh, except wait, do you know about clowncore?
Yeah, that must be what I'm thinking of. Is like
I was posting videos of that. I'm obsessed with them. I mean, they're both like, it's like metal jazz with these like horrific clown masks, and like they're both just like, one of them is like an expert at the saxophone. Like it's really, and then they have like metal singing voices. It's really next level.
I'm pretty sure I saw them like a year or two ago. Do they like perform in front of like a tarp sometimes? Do you know?
Maybe.
It was weird because it was like a show. I think it was them. I mean, unless there's like another band that like dresses like freakish clowns. Yeah, it would be. Either way, somebody's ripping somebody off. But it was weird because they were having technical difficulties. But like since it was kind of like metal, like insane clown noise music, it like kind of just worked. Like it just felt like it was like part of the show.
Nice.
Is this good content? I feel like I'm
No, it's okay. Okay, so let's start with Joker. I still don't know how to pronounce the title.
Yeah.
I have Joker Foie Gras was my favorite.
No, that's what I've been saying because I mean, it's like the first strike I think it had against it for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like people put French on stuff to make it more exciting. a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And they never like explained it in the movie, but I guess it's a like actual diagnosis of like a shared delusional state is what it means. Here, I can double check the actual definition.
Well, because we saw it together, and I remember when we were walking in, you were like, "Do you know why it's French?" And I think I said like, "I just assume it's like, it's kind of because it's pretentious."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, so yeah, it says Folie à deux, French for madness of two, is called shared psychosis or shared delusional disorder, and it's an actual psychiatric syndrome in which symptoms of a delusional belief are transmitted from one individual to another. So that's interesting.
Okay, that's
yeah. Okay, we'll get into it.
To like make your title something people have to look up.
Yeah, totally. I hate that it just like gives French people a leg up, though. You know, it's like, okay, now we all have to like Google it.
Yeah, they already they know they're not gonna like it.
Yeah,
the second they read the title.
Okay, so Joker, Folie à deux, directed by Todd Phillips. The world is a stage. While struggling with his dual identity, Arthur Fleck not only stumbles upon true love, but also finds the music that's always been inside him. I didn't read that before. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to read the top most liked review. Okay, right now it's by Ram. And they said, La La Land for couples who match each other's freak. I feel like La La Land is just like so mid. Like it's so unremarkable to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the music in this was so I can't think of any other musical or movie that like has a soundtrack, like a musical soundtrack like this. Like I think because La La Land was like kind of the jazz thing, right? A little bit.
I don't even remember like if they had a real. I think they were doing covers or something, right?
Yeah, I
can't remember actually. I just saw it once.
I think the other thing too is like, because I don't know, I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot the last like week or so, and like the music in it, like it's all the like scary strings and drones and stuff. Like it really it's a musical, but it's not a musical. Like it's almost, it feels like it's just like part of the score and sound design to me, kind of.
Yeah, totally. Like I felt like it was always kind of awkward when they start singing. Like the transition is a little awkward because you're like, and I still don't know how based in reality it is, like because people like that one guard like loves music, so he's like stoked whenever the music starts, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But then you're like, well, these are not songs that anyone else knows. Like it's from Arthur Fleck's mind, or like, you know, what's her face, Lee's mind. So it's not like anyone else knows these songs if a random person did just burst into song. But like, it does seem to be that they hear them singing in real life. It's just kind of normal, which is interesting. Like in that universe, it's not like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I think it was like something I liked about it, especially like when, because I feel like the times where it was used too, it felt like it could be interpreted, like especially like when he's doing it like during the interview, like it could be a part of like him just being crazy on TV, is like he's singing like Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered or whatever. And then the other times where it is just like, it just feels like, it's just, they're just singing, I guess, out in public.
Do you have a favorite from the soundtrack?
I mean, I think that one is the one I've been listening to a lot. I guess I should say I loved the movie. Like I was not, I didn't think I was going to hate it, because like I kind of love anything Batman related, but I was not prepared for how much I was going to legitimately like love it. And I think the thing I loved about it the most was the music, and specifically Joaquin Phoenix's voice. And his voice in that song, it's just so sweet and so which makes it so scary and like sad. Like it's just so sad that it's like he thinks he's in love, and it's like it's like a little kid. Like it's
like so sincere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the Bee Gees one too.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
What's your fave?
I haven't really been listening to the soundtrack on its own. I feel like I'm kind of that way with, like, I'm not against musicals, but I don't really like listen to it in my spare time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I liked, I don't remember the names of anything, but there's like a duet that they do. It's like has a two in it. I don't remember. Close to You.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one.
And the like
that was catchy.
The visitor booth in the jail.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, we're going to expand upon it with each of these like reviews that we read, but yeah, overall, both of us really enjoyed it. I mean, we saw it opening night, IMAX, the seats, I thought I got seats like in the middle, and it was literally like having to look up the whole time. It was like but it was really funny because when it was starting, I was like feeling bad that I'd gotten these seats that were like so close. But then I looked at you and you were like, I'm so excited. You looked like you were like immersed in the world and you were just like ready.
No, I'm a sicko. Like I really loved just because it's so big. Like I forget like that IMAX is like it's like a skyscraper sized Lady Gaga. No, I was happy. I wish it was like a fucking like Star Tours or something. Like I wish it was like a VR ride.
Yeah, it made me think of like soaring over California or whatever that was. But so I saw it again yesterday, and it was just a regular screen, actually really small screen at Los Feliz 3, and it didn't have any aspect ratio changing. So that's like a completely different experience than having, first of all, the IMAX-ness of it is like a completely different experience. And I noticed like also like this is filled with spoilers, so don't worry about any spoilers. Not that you were, but at the end, like I couldn't even make out the droplet of blood on the screen, like on the smaller one. Oh, wow. I was like really looking for it because I knew, and I was like, I wouldn't have noticed that. And like on the IMAX screen, it's like so like you can't miss it, you know, like so totally different experience.
Yeah, no, it's weird because like when I was driving home that night, I was like kind of thinking like I probably will never see it again.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But then like, yeah, I don't know. I think I want to see it like in a smaller theater or like watch it at home when it like comes out on Blu-ray or something, because like it seems like it would be like more of like an intimate experience, like with just the way the music is too. Mm-hmm. Like, but in IMAX, like anytime they'd cut to those like big city shots, I was just like, God, this is like, it's just a beautifully shot movie.
Yeah, like, it's amazing.
And I'm embarrassed to be talking about it this way. Like I really am. Like
you're not like trying to be edgy.
No. I like,
same.
You know, like and I get accused of that a lot. I mean, like right now on Twitter, there's like a thing about the People's Joker because somebody was talking about like problematic queer art or something, and they were like, here, like use the People's Joker as an example, and like
problematic.
Yeah, like messy, problematic queer art. Which I think they meant as a compliment, like that they want like queer art to be not like rainbow capitalism. Oh, and like I'll take the compliment, but it was also it's now because it's like gone on for like 4 days. It's now at the point where people are going like, People's Joker isn't messy or problematic. It's a mess. The only thing that's like like it's all the like people like disagreeing with that, and like I think both sides of it frustrate me because it was like I wasn't trying to make something that's like problematic or edgy. I was just like trying to tell my story.
Yeah.
The reason I say all that is like I think what this movie and watching people react to it has really highlighted for me is just the way we all as a society talk about like film now is just so broken. Like it's so broken that like, you know, I get called a contrarian all the time for my tastes, or like that like I have like an ironic appreciation of things because like Neil Breen's like one of my favorite directors or something. It's like, no, I just like things. Like I'm not but yeah, I don't know. Sorry to get on that soapbox about it.
That's an important thing to talk about, because with this movie, people are saying that it's like, and I mean, something I did like about it was like, oh, this is, you know, not appealing to the first movie's audience, but like you said, you were saying yesterday, you were like, it's not like just this troll movie. Like that's not, it's like, and I think similar kind of thing with your movie is like, if there are elements in there that are like, you know, I don't even know, I haven't even heard problematic used in like a positive way, but that are problematic in a positive way, I guess. But it wouldn't be nearly as good of a movie if it wasn't this like really genuine, like very personal thing. Like you're not just trying to like make something and being like, fuck you world. And like, because that's never like, if you're just trying to be edgy and push buttons or whatever. So it's never good. So it's like with this movie, people are kind of like claiming that it's just pushing buttons or something, but it's like, that would be, I think that's such a crazy choice, like to make like a heartfelt musical. I don't think, I like sort of, but not really.
Yeah, I just don't think, because I've seen that. I've seen people say like, I don't know, like one of the YouTube videos I watched was titled like, Joker 2 hates you. Will you return the favor? And I'm just like,
what?
I don't think it hates me. And like, I also don't, because I've also seen people say like, Todd Phillips clearly hated making Joker 1. And like, I don't think he did. I think he really cares about that version of the character that he made. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that he probably is reacting to is the fact that there does seem to be a portion of the world that really glamorized that character and like what he did, which I understand. I mean, like my movie to some extent kind of is me doing that. And like, I understand why anybody who's disenfranchised, whether they're like mentally ill or trans or like a fucking incel dude who like feels like his identity's being erased or whatever, like I understand why that story would be appealing to them, but I don't think that was the movie he was trying to make. And this felt like an artist going like, no, here is what actually would happen to this guy. He'd be put to death. And like people would be doing it. The ultimate irony too is like the fact that the movie is about a character whose arc is realizing that he's not the Joker and that he's just a mentally ill dude that society has completely fucked over. And the majority of the public's response is, I wanted it to be a Joker movie. And it's like that ultimate irony of it is like, I like just got like goosebumps.
It's so ironic.
Like, it's like, and it speaks to just like what I think is actually like tragic about the story itself. Is like, it's just like, that is like, we live in a world that does fetishize like violence and insanity and toxic relationships and all that stuff. And the fact that we didn't get like Joker and Harley Quinn, like Robin Banks and like him beating her and shit. Like, what do you want? Like, go watch another, I don't know.
Also, yeah, I guess this will be probably peppered throughout that I've had a Jokerification over the past couple weeks that I knew nothing. And I didn't know watching this. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, I feel like self-conscious that it seems like I was like homeschooled or something. But I just like, I don't know. I just was like, I'm a girl. Like, I'm not going to watch that. But it just never like called out to me. My parents aren't like really into those kinds of movies, so it just didn't happen. I don't have a brother. I mean, not that only boys can like it, but you know what I mean? There's no one else bringing me to those movies.
For me, I think the only reason I am obsessed with Batman is because I was like like they failed to do so, but I was really the attempt to socialize me as a boy. The only thing that ever really like that I liked that like other that my friends liked and stuff was like Power Rangers, and I think that was just because of like all the colors and the costumes, and then Batman, because I think it was like about identity and it had an edge to it, and like it also, I think, like especially like the Joker is like a pathway to getting into horror, I think, for like a lot of like
Yeah, totally.
kids, just because it is like it's like the first time you're introduced to this idea that something can be both funny and scary and stuff. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, it's been nice. It's been really kind of cool watching you discover it, and like it's fascinating to me, the idea of somebody watching the People's Joker and that being their introduction to Batman canon is like that. Like, oh, that's,
I know, it's
makes
crazy.
my dreams
I
come
keep
true.
learning like the lore that I didn't know existed, and then I'm like, oh, in your movie, like you were, or getting like in the different, because it's funny. Oh, I forgot I had a cigarette in my ear. It's funny how like in all these movies, there's like lore peppered in from like the comic books. I'm guessing, that it's like kind of. I'm like, oh yeah, that's I guess the thing that they just chose to put in, like with like Batman's parents dying, Batman's parents dying in the first Joker, like sort of like it was like, oh, I guess that's about. I mean, yeah, Batman origin, sort of.
Yeah.
So sort of referencing that, but that was kind of it. It's like only if you knew about. But I guess they expect you to know about that. But anyways, yeah. So. We'll be talking about Suicide Squad, but I feel like that's what you should watch if you want like but people hate Jared Leto, like when you said like Harley Quinn and Joker robbing banks and stuff, but it's a very different Joker. But yeah, so I didn't know that her name is Harleen Quinzel, and I laughed when they said that in the new Joker, because I was like, what? Like that's like they're making up some funny like fancy name.
Well, that's what's funny too, is it's like like Harley Quinn originated in Batman the Animated Series. Like
she was in that like red and black with like the jester hat.
Yeah.
Stuff, right?
And is basically like the Joker's sidekick. But that's a show for children. And like the Todd Phillips Joker movies aren't for kids. But the idea of just like an army, just the adults being this like, but that's not my Joker and my Harley is just like, well, go watch yours, and like here's a new thing. I mean, like that's probably why it worked for you too, is like you don't have like all this like you don't have like 30 years of bullshit that you're bringing to it. And I think for me it's just like I just like new versions of these characters. Like I'm tired of, and we'll talk about the Nolan stuff, but like I'm tired of seeing the same shit with these.
Totally.
Like, there's so much you could do.
I'll read a review that you sent me that's the second most liked now. It's by Anna V. This is like when that one mediocre kid somehow got 100% on a test, but everyone knew it was just because he copied the actual smart kid, but then the smart kid changed seats, so he went on to get a 0.5% on the next test because he couldn't rip anyone off anymore. All this is to say this was fucking trash. It's a great analogy.
It's a great analogy.
We all knew that kid.
And I don't agree with the premise that it's trash.
Yeah.
But I do, there's part of me agrees with the sentiment, because like I think like it's the highlights of Joker, the 2019's Joker, are all things that like were highlights in other movies like Taxi Driver or King of Comedy, and with the exception of the talk show and like him, like that's like a pretty unique thing, like watching Joker kill somebody on a talk show and like have it done that way, where like we're kind of cheering it on, and it also is like really fucked up. In like the fact that like, how do you make a sequel then to a movie that is like an homage to all these other things? Like, it's like, this just was from Todd Phillips's heart. Like, I don't think it goes back to that troll thing where it's just like, I think he made this because he was like, oh shit, like I made this character that has like a child's IQ and is like, has compulsively laughs, is like an abuse victim and all that stuff. Like, so there just was the movie doesn't really have that much of a plot. Like it's very and I mean this all as a compliment. Like, I'm glad he had no template that he could cheat off of this time. That it was just like, okay, like we're just gonna kind of like, I'm gonna get $200 million from the most evil second most evil media conglomerate on the planet, because Disney's probably way worse. But and make like a weird like 2 hour art film with these characters. It's just like, it's fucking, I get why it didn't work for people.
This one, like Joaquin had a dream that like he couldn't let go of being the Joker, and he was like singing on a stage as the Joker. So he came to him and told, that was how this was born. So it was originally his idea. I don't know how involved he was in like everything else, but he literally like had a dream and was like, I have to make this happen.
That's, I hope this movie doesn't kill his career.
It can. I don't think it can.
I just love how much we've enabled him being him.
Himself. Yeah, totally.
Because that's insane. I mean, I've had tons of dreams that nobody should give me money to make a movie out of.
Maybe you should listen to those more. Okay. Oh, okay. Here's one that we also briefly talked about. Okay. Demi Adeju Yigbe wrote, my ex worked in the art department for this movie over a year and a half ago while we were living together, and it was a lot of hard work, and I'm very proud of her. And I know exactly who is not nice on this project, and I fully intend to haunt them for the rest of my days, smiley face. Movie looks good. Anyway, we went to see it in a big group, and she told me I'm not allowed to call it Joker Folie doo-doo if I don't like it. But then they didn't put her name in the credits, so Folie doo-doo. Okay, rude that they didn't put your name in the credits. But also, like, what do you want? Like, there's 6,837 likes from people who are like, oh my God, like, what's the inside scoop? Like, I want to guess who it is. Like, someone, like, celebrities. Like, what do you, it's so annoying to me when people do this.
Yeah, no, that's like the epitome of like, it's like what I love about Letterboxd is that it isn't really a review site.
Totally.
It's just like a diary. And what I hate about it is that like it's also just a space for people to have like these epic, like an epic own. And like, I don't know, when I saw that one too, it was just like, oh cool, you've had a girlfriend before. Like wow, does she live in Canada? Like, it just is like
she goes to another school.
Yeah, exactly.
Her name wasn't in the credits, but I swear she had. Is this even a real story?
Can't prove that I've gotten laid, but
no one can even fact check this because her name isn't in the credits.
It's also like, oh wow, somebody in Joker 2 was an asshole. Like,
right?
I'm sure all of them are.
Yeah, like, and it's always like, take that with a grain of salt, because like it's always like, if you're on a set, it's very stressful. And if they're like a star and they're like cold and they're like crappy, like, okay, they're usually not like screaming at everyone, but like they might not be like super friendly, but it's like they're working. Like, it's like, who cares? You gotta let go of like whatever parasocial relationship you have with them without trying to like be your bestie as a PA who's like driving you around or something.
No, it's so I've always really tried to be, when I'm on set, like I'm nice to everybody, but I've had my freakouts. Like, I never yell at anybody, but I've definitely been at Video Village. Like, I remember I was an executive producer and directed at this show for Tim and Eric called Beef House, and it was like the first day, like we're just having a lot of problems with like our lighting and our cameras and stuff, and like I definitely like was cursing and like and like I apologized to everybody and like made sure everybody knew too. I was like, I'm not doing that towards any of you. Like, that is like me
You're just frustrated.
like grappling with the reality. Like, cause I mean,
Totally.
it's like impossible to make a movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's really, you're trying to, I mean, for me, so much of just making art is, it's like realizing my limitations as a human being, and that I'm not God. And I think especially like when you're making something on this level, like, I don't know, I'm sure Todd Phillips is an intense person to work with. Did you see that quote where somebody, sorry to change gears.
No,
somebody was like, what would Arthur think of Batman? And Todd Phillips was like, I think he would look up to Batman because he's an alpha male. And it was like such an insane thing to say. And like, I saw this before the movie came out, and I was like,
the first one?
Before the second one.
Okay.
And I was like, the Joker wouldn't look up to Batman. That's like a crazy thing to say. But now having seen the movie, I'm like, no, I think he's right.
It's very childlike, like enamored with the like fantasy heroic sort of. Yeah.
I think
it's just a funny thing to call him an alpha male.
No, it's like that. And then I guess the reason I bring that up is like, that tells you everything you need to know about that guy. Is like, I mean, he's using the word alpha male to describe Batman. A guy who like really just needs to go to therapy.
Seriously. And I still do not understand why he's a bat. Like, no one will. I haven't done a super deep dive, but I'm still just like, okay, everyone just accepts that like he's a bat and he has these little ears and like puts on a costume, and it's a very high tech costume, right?
Yes.
But like, it's a bat for no reason.
Well, the idea is, you know, not to bat-splain, but I think it's supposed to be scary to like villains, but I don't think it's ever been scary in any movie. Like, I don't think it's ever.
And like the gravelly voice is just,
it's embarrassing.
It's stupid. Yeah.
It was why like in my movie I made him just like a little like chubby cop, basically like a cop and / like Netflix producer, because it was just like, this is like what this character actually functions as ultimately, is like just a symbol of like the ruling class of like neoliberalism.
Yeah, totally. Okay, here is part of IndieWire's review, 1.5 stars. It would seem that Todd Phillips has not taken kindly to the notion that his mega-grossing, Oscar-winning, career-defining Joker was some kind of incel rallying cry. Remember when SWAT teams were on standby for the film's New York premiere? I did not know that. Just in case anyone in the audience felt a bit too empowered by the movie's themes. To Phillips' mind, his comic book-fueled Scorsese homage was a sad clown story about the cruelty of our unempathetic world, told through the eyes of a man who'd been violently denied the love we all need to suffer through it. Yes, Joker ended with Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck shooting his favorite talk show host on live TV, the murder sparking a copycat riot that saw a mob of angry Gothamites set fire to the city in Arthur's image. But the director would argue that rage fantasies aren't endorsements, even in a semi-triumphant blockbuster that seduced multiplex audiences to share in their catharsis. It's just entertainment after all, and Phillips doesn't feel he should be held responsible for a world too sick to separate fiction from reality.
I mean, yeah, I don't think he should. I don't think like artists should.
Yeah, are they saying, because they're saying the director would argue that rage fantasies aren't endorsements? They're not. Are they saying they are?
I don't know. That's such a weird, and because they're ragging on it ultimately, right? Like they didn't
gave it a 1.5.
I mean, to me, it's like that is, again, it's like there's this other side of like how we watch movies now, like I just don't think it is his job to teach people the difference between reality and fiction. And I also think, like, for me, when I'm watching a movie where I'm siding with like a horrible person, like Natural Born Killers is one of my favorite movies.
Me too.
Like, and I love
Love
Mickey
it.
and Mallory.
Yes.
But they're horrible people.
Yeah.
Like and I don't. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of an empowered feeling. Like in some way, you're like, you're watching something and you're like getting the thrill of like watching somebody do these things, but like it also doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when like I'm watching a character that I'm identifying with kill somebody. Like,
right.
And that is not. That's the effect I think he's going for. And then to have it become this thing where it is just like. And I think the other thing too, and I watched this interview with him where he was talking about how in the lead up to Joker 2019 with the, you know, SWAT teams and stuff like showing up, the way it was reported on before the movie came out was like that there were going to be shootings at the theaters. Like,
oh my God.
like the media went into this whole frenzy where they were like, this is gonna, and it was people who hadn't even seen the movie yet.
How did I miss this?
It was such a moment in time, like that. I think if you were really paying attention to what was happening, because it was right as like the world was falling apart. Like it was like right before COVID.
Maybe there'd probably been a recent like movie theater shooting. Like there were a few of those.
Yeah,
in the past few years.
I'm sure like it was. But even that, it's like the media is capitalizing on it. They're the ones who like fueled that. And then I remember seeing it and being like, oh, this is like a leftist. I read it as like a leftist, like leftist libertarian thing where it's like, okay, yeah, like we want to like tear down the mental health industrial complex and stuff. And like, but I also think now, like I've seen that first one way too many times. That's a movie I can never watch again. Just after like making mine, like I had to rewatch it a lot.
Was yours directly inspired by that, or were you already working on?
No, I mean, so I had this original idea for like a body horror movie that was about a drag queen who was physically addicted to irony, and then. So there was that idea, and then Todd Phillips was complaining about woke culture, and then that kind of just spawned what the movie became, where it was like, okay, because I think that's like a ridiculous. Like he was basically saying like the reason he doesn't make movies like old school anymore is because people are too sensitive,
right?
Which it's funny because I've now seen people say like the whole woke culture thing is over. People don't talk about it anymore. But I'm like, I see my movie gets called woke all the time. And there's a fucking character called Suicide Cop in it. I don't know, like it's like about as woke as the word faggot.
That's what I'm wondering. Like that's not what woke is. Do they just mean like people using the correct pronouns?
That's all it is.
And even then, you're like misgendered in the movie. By, like, Mr. J.
It's totally. It's supposed to. Like I wanted to basically reclaim like rude comedy as like because I associate like dark comedies and like edgelord stuff with like John Waters. It's like and drag queens and like what
totally.
And so yeah, I had to watch it a lot. But I know he I think was heartbroken that, and it also got a lot of people to see his movie, but like I can't imagine what it's like having a bunch of people say something about your movie. Actually, I don't even need to imagine what it's like because I've experienced that with my movie where it's like people will hear the idea of a trans Joker movie and they'll get all these ideas about like what that probably is. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's going to be like it's going to be woke or whatever. Then there's other people where it's like, oh, it's like trans girl irony posting or whatever, and it's really neither of those things. It's like it's a really colorful, sincere silly, but it's a movie that also takes itself seriously, because comedy takes itself too seriously. So I wanted to do that too in it. So it's like, and that has been something I've had to really like block myself off against, because when you make something and people haven't even seen it and they're just already talking about it with this definitive, like, this is going to cause shootings, or this is woke, or this is for incels, it's devastating after you like put a bunch of work into something.
Yeah.
So I kind of get where he was coming from, I think, with even making this and kind of maybe overcorrecting a little bit.
Yeah.
Am I talking too much?
No. I'm trying to like be a good interviewer and like not interrupt.
Okay,
but I'm
cool.
listening. I'm loving. Yeah, this is great. I mean, yeah, because I didn't want to just like, I feel like you've been interviewed a billion times probably.
No, this is a blast.
So
This is
whatever you want to interject about the People's Joker, like I'm very curious about it. So and it's related also when you go to like literally any Joker movie on Letterboxd, like your face is right there because there's like an article about you. Like it says like it's an interview with you or something from Letterboxd, and it's like literally every single like Batman movie. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
it's kind of amazing.
It really is. It's like, it's funny because it's like
You're part of the canon.
I am, and like it would have never happened if Warner Brothers hadn't gone after the movie. Like it really wouldn't have. It would have just like, I think because it premiered at TIFF, which is a huge deal. Like, and I didn't really know how huge of a deal it was until I got there and was like, oh, this is like a real, like, I guess this is where I'm at in my career. It was almost this like reality check moment for me where I was like, why do I like hate myself and feel like a failure? Like, this is like, clearly like I made something that has artistic value if it like is getting to premiere here.
Yeah.
But I do think if they had just ignored the movie, I think like one of the like indie distributors would have bought it, like one of the bigger indie distributors, like, and I don't want to name specific ones because there were specific ones that people could guess that were interested in buying the movie at that point. But I think that wouldn't have meant the movie would be the success that it is now. I think it would have gotten dumped into theaters for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it would have gotten like a cult following eventually, but they legitimized everything that the movie was saying by coming after it. Like they really did. And, you know, and it was also, and people rarely believe me when I say this, but like I didn't want that to happen. Like I didn't want it to be, you know, you don't make a movie and then like want to be like a band filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also because you didn't know it was possible. It would never, like, it was more than a year. It was like a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
That you, like, that's not fun. Like, you can't really look in the future and be like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, because you have no idea if it'll ever, you'll just like lose all that money and it'll be like, how do you even get people to see it after like the festival run is over and stuff? Like
Totally.
secret, like, Daily Motion link or something.
Yeah, and it was like because and thankfully like I had, you know, I had friends and I had multiple partners that were like very much cheerleaders of the project and like very like it was like I really kind of had rallied this like codependent like queer shell around me of people that were like, no, just keep doing what you're doing, do secret screenings, the right distributors out there. But in the back of my head the whole time I was like, I've failed. Like I really thought I had failed. And then I think you know, like screening it at Tallgrass in Wichita was a moment where I was like, okay. I think that was like when my perspective started to shift because that was a public facing screening. It was opening the festival.
Yeah. You got the key to the city, right?
Yeah, I met the mayor.
What does that mean that you got the key? Was it a real key?
No, it was like it was so funny. Melanie, I'm sorry if you watch this, but it is what you said. You can cut this out if you want. I just don't have I'm incapable of lying because I'm neurospicy. But I showed up again late to the premiere, and at Tallgrass, and the festival director came up to me and was like, "We want you to meet the mayor. He's really cool with trans." And that was exactly what she said.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's so sweet, and it's such a like, okay.
Cool with
And like
trans.
then there was just a
I love
dude
that.
dressed up like Batman there too. So it was
Oh
like,
my god, I forgot about that.
it was such a surreal.
Who was that?
I have
Just a
no
rando?
idea. It was just a random, and he wouldn't tell me who he was either. He was just, "I'm Batman."
Wow, that's kind of amazing. That's
Yeah.
dedication.
And then like, so I guess the mayor, I think what happened is the mayor, it's funny because as a trans person, you're simultaneously like outcasted from society, and you become this like chess piece that like
Like a token.
Yeah.
Totally.
because I think he was like, "Oh, you're opening with like a trans movie? Like, I'd love to meet the director." He definitely didn't know what the movie was.
Yeah.
He did not realize like when I showed up, because we walked outside to take a picture together, and he saw how I was dressed, which again was like a clown unicorn like slut. It was
Yeah.
like, he's like, "Oh,
In
okay,
Wichita,
cool."
Kansas.
Yeah, in Wichita, Kansas.
It's a great place. I honestly really liked it.
I loved it. I want to
Yeah.
go back.
No, it's not shitting on Wichita.
No,
it's just
not
a
at
small
all.
town. It's in Kansas.
And like it's probably my favorite festival too.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that they opened with the People's Joker, I was like, well, first it was Crush the Wrestler, and then and I was like, and it was just this crowd of like so many locals, and the fact that like Tallgrass is just like, yep, like opening night, like they're not pandering at all. Like it was great.
No, it felt
that-
it
yeah.
felt so good. It
At
was,
that time, it was still like hashtag Free the People's Joker.
but I think that was really when it was starting to finally shift for me, and you know, because like I
There's hope.
had already had, you know, the deal wasn't signed, but I had my distributor on board. I knew that the movie was going to have some kind of theatrical life, but I still didn't know what that would look like, and I never could. I mean, to circle it all back to how this part of the conversation started, like I never could have imagined that like that Letterboxd loves me. It's fucking, I mean, I hope.
An American Cinematag. You're the go-to Twin Peaks Q&A-er.
Yeah, I'm known as the person to ask to interview people from Twin Peaks, and like I just think
How is it two? Ray Wise, Kyle
and
MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan, yeah.
There's gotta be
far,
more
we'll
on the
see.
way.
I don't, not yet, but when I was driving home from that screening, and I was like, God, like, I would love to meet David Lynch. I just don't know if it's going to happen at this point, because it sounds like he doesn't really leave the house anymore. And
You got to get into TM.
I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
I meditate 40 minutes a day.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I'm insane.
Well, if he sees this, now he knows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
You're in the in crowd.
It's an hour into the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
never
mean,
know.
if David Lynch listened to a podcast, he probably would listen to one called Femcel Fatale.
What do you think? Do you think he knows what an incel is?
I feel like he probably does. I feel like somebody's probably explained it to him. I feel like
He has kids
Yeah.
who are
yeah.
like in their 20s, I think, or something.
And he's like he's hip, you know. I've always
Yeah.
thought of him as like a lesbian filmmaker. Like
Yeah.
and he like I think he the fact that he's just like every couple years he's like, I'm into Christabel now, or I'm into like when like even in the 90s when he was into 9 Inch Nails, like who would have thought this
Yeah,
just like
true.
weird old guy would be into that stuff.
It's like Kyle MacLachlan with Brat. He's like,
Yeah.
he's in with Charlie.
No, that was the coolest. Sorry, we're all over the place.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, wait, the key to the city. I never got the answer to that.
The only thing I'll say about interviewing Kyle MacLachlan was so nuts, because it was like I wanted to say like you're like his you're like his like little boy that
His muse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like that's so beautiful, but I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable, and because he seemed
If I
uncomfortable.
call him a little boy, he's
Yeah.
probably going to feel a little weird.
I don't think he likes to be infantilized. Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. He seems like he would see what you're trying to get at.
I would hope so. I was
Yeah,
so
my guess.
nervous meeting he's like he's one of my favorite actors, and yeah.
We're back with coffee and makeup touch-ups.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking
same
of
for me.
putting makeup on, what'd you think of the sex scene with the makeup?
Honestly, like I think that was like one of those scenes that I felt so sad for him.
Yeah.
In this way of just like, oh my God, like you just like the second that scene started, I was like, this is gonna end so bad. Like he's probably gonna die in this movie because like,
wow, that's the moment you got it.
yeah, because like it was like, oh, she is only interested in him like with Joker makeup, and then like it's like the music playing, and then it like cuts out, and they have sex, and it's like, and he. He comes so fast, and it was like, oh, he's a virgin. Like I didn't think about it until
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think? I think he's must to be a virgin. Like
I would have to assume.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to assume that he is.
How old is he supposed to be? Do we know?
I don't know. I
don't know how old Joaquin Phoenix is actually.
Because he's such like a man child. But it was such a realistic scene, and you know, like it. I think the. Not that I had identified with that scene specifically, but the idea of like people like want him to be the Joker, and they don't really see him as anything else. Like that was something that really like because I related to the first movie as a trans woman, like as a trans woman who like was left behind by her like family system and the government and medical industry and all that stuff and show business. Like I was really in this place where it was like I really wasn't where I wanted to be as a comedy person. And like this movie, so the first one I identified with as a trans woman. This one I identified with as a trans woman who made a Joker parody, because
it's a very specific experience.
Yeah, which I get why. Like, yeah, I'm one of two people apparently that likes it, because it's like it to me it was like the thing that was relatable this time was like, oh, like you create this like false identity that's a mask. And then when you're not that thing, people are like, wait, but why aren't you doing the thing? And like, I haven't experienced it to the degree that Arthur Fleck does in that movie. But like, I've had a few interactions over the course of the last couple years now since the movie's been out there where I've kind of been like, I'm not the Joker. Like I'm a shy, I can barely make eye contact. Like I'm a shy trans woman, and like I did this thing to like understand my life. Like
it's like being on screen, people always have like a parasocial relationship. It's hard not to think like, oh, they'll just talk to me like they do in the movie, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I
like
think
not just directing it as well.
That was like one of the things that was just interesting to me about the movie itself, was just like I think the parasocial thing of like we project a lot onto artists and films and filmmakers, and then when you meet them, it's just like, oh, it's just like you're just a human being. Like that sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. It could go either way. Either it's like, oh, I could do that then, or it's like, oh, I'm just like holding these people up on a pedestal and they're just like suck just like me or whatever. Yeah. Wait, I just need my key to the city question answered. What does that mean? Like,
oh, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get.
Like,
I wasn't given a key.
Right. They just said
I mean, look, when I go back to Wichita someday, I'm gonna try to, see if I can like get. I assume like I can walk into any small business and get like free bagels
that's the rules.
and stuff. Yeah. I hope.
Yeah, okay. So you don't know either.
But that mayor didn't win re-election, so like I might have lost the key. Like I might need to I might have lost him.
You kept tabs on that mayor in Wichita.
Well, because it was like when they took the picture with me, I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, there's no way he's going to post that. like, because his wife seemed pissed too.
Oh, no.
Like, just like, who is this like fucking like this clown whore that like you like it was a very weird interaction. So I kept following his Instagram to see if I would pop up there, and I didn't.
Really?
But I tagged him in mine, so like I think I might have lost him the election. I hope I didn't.
His reputation floundered
Because he's good on
Who's he
he's
hanging out
cool
with?
with trans or whatever.
Okay, this is by Julia, 2.5 stars. Gonna build a mountain and throw myself off it. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the build a mountain of it all. I was really thinking about that on the second watch. And, you know, she doesn't even say it that many times, but she just says it so like, oh, this is gonna be my like tagline or whatever. Like, and once you know, like I was watching it knowing that she's like acting the whole time or whatever, that I'm like, I think she is just trying to make up some like catchy tagline of like being iconic like in the movie, but it like doesn't really make sense, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. I was like, oh, that's totally something people do where they're like trying to like be like, people are gonna know me for this, but you're like, this isn't, it's not like resonating with anyone. Like, what does that mean? We're gonna build a mountain.
No, that's 100% my take on it too, is that it's like
And she doesn't have a real plan because she doesn't think he's gonna get out, right?
no, like it seems like she's a fake. She's fake, and
Yeah,
she's like,
totally.
it seems like it reminded me of like those like people that are like, oh, I'm so quirky,
Yeah.
and it's like they're
100%.
not. They're
They
just
just
like,
want attention. And
yeah. Like she and you know, I think if I could give one criticism to the movie, like I wish there was a little bit more to that character. Even with like the route they were going of her being a manipulator and like the one that like, because it's interesting to take one of the most toxic dynamics of all time, which is Joker and Harley, and make Harley the one who's like lying and
manipulating,
and like that is interesting to me. But there was a lot about it that I was like, oh, so she is like a psychiatrist? Like they never explore that. But
Yeah.
I do like that ultimately it's like, yeah, she was just like a rich kid who was pretending to be poor. And like,
classic tale.
oh, completely.
Yeah.
And like that's just the worst it's the worst kind of person. I
Yeah,
like don't
well,
like that.
With the psychiatrist thing, that was also Margot Robbie's. Is that like canon or did that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was because when I saw the trailer for the movie, the first thing I like
For what
noticed for Joker 2,
Okay.
I was for Joker Foie Gras, I was like, oh, like she's not a psychiatrist. Like that's the main part of the thing is like she's Joker's psychiatrist and she falls in love.
Okay,
Like he
right,
basically
yeah.
like Hannibal Lecters her.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they had done that because it would have just like given it a little bit more meat and they could have like gone the same route. But the build a mountain thing, like I loved it too because that like when they're finally performing the gospel song, like gonna build a mountain, it's like it just adds this other layer to it. It's like, why is this like biblical? Like why are they like, it's like weird too and like problematic in a way that like I like, where I'm like they're singing a gospel song, like these two white jokers are singing a gospel song, like that's doesn't feel great.
Totally.
Yeah,
she's an interesting character. I think it also was disappointing. I definitely was like disappointed by the way it ended between them. It was so anticlimactic. Like she just gives him a look and then leaves, and I was like, and then obviously then she starts singing to him on the staircase, and he's like, stop singing,
yeah,
which is
that
great.
I loved.
Yeah, and she just keeps like singing at him, but like it was like she was so obsessed with him like 2 seconds ago, and then and I was thinking like if I was in that moment I'd be like, oh, he has a plan, like, you know, if you really, when he says I'm not the Joker, I wouldn't immediately leave. I'd be like, oh, maybe he's like going somewhere with this, like I don't know. It was like just so sudden that it was like,
it was weird.
yeah,
It that felt like because I've seen you know, the whole Gaga fan base that doesn't like this movie, they're like, there's deleted scenes. She got, like, they're basically saying, like, she got Jared Leto'd in the way that, like,
What does that mean?
because, like, in Suicide Squad, Jared Leto was apparently in it way more.
Oh.
And they really cut down his whole thing.
Because he was, like, a lot.
I guess, like, I think it was, like, yeah, I don't know. I just think it was, like, too fucked up or something. Like, the whole, we'll get into it when we get to Suicide Squad, because there's a whole story of just how it was, like, edited.
Okay.
That was, like, crazy. But,
It wasn't likable, probably.
I mean, that was probably the main, yeah. But I think there was a deleted scene there, from what I can tell, and like the clips and stuff I've seen online. The scene originally ended with her continuing to sing to him, and it would become like this other musical number. And she called the cops on him and is basically turning him in to put him back in jail.
I did, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they didn't really make it. They didn't really make it clear, and I don't know. I wonder why, because I don't know. Like I'd seen some of the rumors beforehand that there might have been like deleted scenes of her in the movie, and I assumed that it was maybe like performance, like maybe she didn't. But she was. I think she's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand anybody that would say otherwise.
Yeah. And I also saw that she said she was intentionally like not using her vocal technique. Like she had to really try to not do what she's like trained to do, which I really like. And it's like people keep saying like, oh, she was underused and everything. And it's like, what is that really? I mean, okay, so you want to hear her like belt and stuff. I mean, there's plenty of media for doing that. Just go to YouTube. Yeah. But like, it's like, so if you have a voice like that, does it have to be like? And I didn't think that was the vibe like of the music. Like she still sounded great, but it wasn't supposed to be this epic. Like it's very personal and like quieter and like yeah. I liked that she did that. She like scaled it down, you know.
Yeah, I think because it's weird because I've seen people say they didn't announce that it was going to be a musical. Nobody, which isn't true.
Yeah, I thought it was common knowledge.
and in the trailer, it's obvious, I think, but maybe just some people just I don't know. It's weird. Like this whole thing is really. It's really exposed me just to how stupid people I think actually are too. That it's like, you didn't know it was a musical? Like everything I ever heard about it, the only thing I heard about it was that it was a musical and Lady Gaga was in it.
Yeah, that I just knew like, oh, Lady Gaga's in it because I thought just because she can sing or something. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And
like I think the I don't know, like when I heard that it was a musical, I had a vision of it in my head that it wasn't, which was like that it would be like a big, like a Busby Berkeley musical, like with big set pieces. And like, I thought it was going to all be on a soundstage this time and stuff. And I was not looking forward to that, especially knowing that it was going to be a jukebox musical where they'd use like Frank Sinatra songs and Bee Gees songs and Carpenters and stuff. It like, I was like, I don't want to see that. That sounds horrible. So like watching this and like, I don't know, like Lady Gaga meant a lot to me at one point in my life. So like getting to watch this version of her that like is just a lot more stripped down and intimate. Yeah. It's like, that's so much more interesting than like letting her do like the telephone music video. Yeah, or something.
Totally. I actually just rewatched that a few days ago because I was like, I haven't seen that in so long.
It's a work of art.
It's wild. Okay, let's read another one. Okay, this is by Glenn. 4 stars. I think this is the first positive one we've read, maybe. This seems like an odd thing to say, but Joker Folie Deux is really not about the Joker we saw in the first film. However, I have no doubt that this sequel is set up to be a more profound and darker exploration of mental health compared to the first. While the first film dealt with Arthur's failed attempts to receive help from a broken system, this sequel expands on how certain institutions work only to further entrap people in their delusions rather than help them break free, which makes the decision of the movie being a musical that much more emotional for me. The use of music here added an interesting layer to the film that, again, not only heightens emotions, but serves as a metaphor for how Arthur and Harley's world becomes increasingly detached from reality as we go on. The two retreat into their shared delusions throughout the film, using the fantastical element of music to externalize their internal chaos. I honestly didn't know how the singing scenes would play out, but they were seamlessly introduced. I definitely nominate Lady Gaga for some sort of hardware for Harley Quinn, as she was very lovable right off the rip. However, her character represented more than just a partner in madness. She also symbolized a mirror to Arthur's internal turmoil. Her descent into her own delusion also sheds light on how one's fractured identity can draw others into their mental disorder. I may be completely off with this take, but that's to me at least what I think Todd Phillips intended with this sequel. His dark tale of Folie Deux is a much deeper viewing than I expected it to be, but a powerful one nonetheless.
Oh, that feels so validating hearing that, because it's definitely my impression.
Yeah, really well said. And interesting about because the term means shared delusion, but obviously she's in the more manipulative position of, but is she entering her own delusions too? Like how, because I was thinking about it and I was like, is she just like, obviously it's like a crazy thing to do to like get involved with the Joker and everything, but like, is she really delusional, or does she just like, is she like a narcissist or something? But then she also does move into that apartment building, and so like that's pretty extreme.
She checks herself into Arkham Asylum, which is a nuts thing to do. I mean, like,
I was wondering if that was even possible, because my impression was that it was like a prison, but I guess if you could have like a psychiatric hold or something.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, it's an interesting interpretation of like what in the comics is like the like, whatever, like the darkest place you could go is Arkham, but like the fact that they have like a mental health wing where like they're doing musical classes. I liked that as like oh cool. But yeah, I think like I think she was kind of delusional, and I think the shared delusion too is just like everybody in the movie is like not really meeting the reality of the situation. Like even Arthur's lawyer is like, you have a split personality, which he doesn't. He knows that, and he can't fake that he does. He knows right from wrong. He also is very mentally ill. He's incredibly mentally ill and not capable of taking care of himself. And like, what do you do with somebody who's at that level and has killed 5 people? Like, our country just puts them to death and like turns them into like a true crime story, basically.
Yeah,
and
a
like,
TV movie.
Yes.
Which was like my favorite ongoing joke.
Yeah.
Just like the moment that he looked when the neighbor lady is like, that shitty TV movie or whatever, and he just looks at Lee like so betrayed. He's like, was it shitty? Like, was it bad? Because like he's so insecure about it being some like Lifetime movie or something, and she's like, and he's like, oh. He's so relieved.
I loved it, and I really wish we could have seen like a second of it. Like I wish,
do, but I also like that it's like we don't know if it was. We still don't know if it was any good or bad.
I guess that's true. Yeah. In my head, it was like like Leonardo DiCaprio playing like Leonardo DiCaprio playing a TV movie star. Like they should have. If I had made Joker Foie Gras, I would have ended the movie with Arthur watching the TV movie, and you get a Leo DiCaprio cameo of him playing, the TV actor playing Arthur, and then maybe Courtney Love.
Courtney Love would be great.
She should.
Why Leonardo DiCaprio?
I just think I feel like I heard he was like who the studio wanted originally to be in like a serious Joker movie.
Wow.
He wouldn't have worked.
No, not at all.
He's not. I mean, I like him, but and stuff, but yeah, he wouldn't have been that good. But I also, when I heard it was going to be Joaquin Phoenix, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. I remember like when those pictures came out, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you're making a serious Joker movie?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then I loved it and ruined my life making it better.
Okay, let's read a negative one again. This is by Seth's Reviews, 1.5 star. A laughably timid musical effort that torpedoes itself into nothingness the longer it lasts and is buried beneath comical comments on illusions and the mental consequences of severe imprisonment, with nothing of any moral note to give or say other than maybe the lackluster swing at deliberate sabotage of the first film, which admittedly I do somewhat admire a little. He has no notion which lane it wants to stay in, jumping from one out-of-place tune to the next without a care in the world. Worst of all, it's such a chore, devoid of anything noteworthy or conversation-worthy. Say what you want about the previous film, but at least it inspired talking points, even if you didn't like it, like myself. This lacks any ounce of creative integrity, leaving nothing to grasp onto. Shockingly, this was an even more sterile attempt. As I sat there, I could literally feel myself sinking deeper and deeper into my seat, almost struggling to stay awake, wishing it was all a horrible dream, which in some ways might have been a better ending for Arthur Fleck's character than Todd Phillips' abhorrently juvenile conclusion. Brendan Gleeson innocent, though. Oh, and the score. The score is great. I feel like it's like, okay, you just had a very different experience. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
It didn't feel slow to me.
No, me neither.
I don't understand that as a take.
Yeah.
And I've seen it a lot.
But the first one I felt like was a similar pacing, or even slower, right?
I think so.
It was a lot of like artful shots of him like sitting on the subway and like yeah, then there's excitement, but like.
And this, I mean, this, it was like, it just felt like a character study to me. Like, which, I mean, may be giving it, like, too much credit or something, but I'm just like, I was watching it and I was just like, what's gonna happen to this guy? Like, there's two options, and like, there's really no options. Like, it's all bad. Like, he's doomed from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know, like, and it's why, like, when the courthouse blows up and he like escapes, it's such like a what the fuck moment, because it's like, oh, is this gonna be like the moment where he becomes the Joker again? Like, this is how the Joker's gang is gonna get together, and like there's like a bit like Billy Joel's My Life is playing like on their radio. Like, it's such a weird, like, it reminded me of like the Gary Glitter song, like from the staircase dance in the first one, where it's just like, I can't believe I'm watching this right now. And then he gets out of the car because that's just what that character would do, and it's like what it should do. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of love that, because it was like so unexpected that the courthouse blew up, and then you're like, oh, I thought that we had lost all hope that he was getting out of here, so this is going a totally different direction. Then those guys turn out to be these like teenagers who were like, they were the ones who blew up the courthouse, and they're like, yeah, we had to do it or whatever. And then he is not into it. Like, I thought then they would bring him to some like colony of clowns who were like trying to be revolutionary, you know, like anarchist teens or something. But then he's like, no, I do not. Like, I'm going to go see Lee, and then kind of just surrender when the cops are there. Like, it was definitely unexpected, which I thought was cool. Yeah. Like, he never embraces, I guess that just goes to show, like, he never embraces, or he after he realizes, when he decides he like can't embrace it anymore. The like iconic Joker.
We can't.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, it is devastating, the Gary Puddles, the like thing where he's like, you were the only one that was nice to me, and then I watched you kill somebody, and now like I can't sleep. I'm scared of you.
And like, Arthur was like legitimately puzzled. He was like, I like you. What did I do to you?
Yeah.
Like, and he was like,
it's like that. Yeah. It would have, for me, it's like, it would be so inauthentic for that character to ever become like a Batman mastermind villain. Like, it just doesn't make sense. He's got the like emotional and literal intelligence of a child, and like it's just not, it's I mean, and I'm not happy that he dies at the end. Like, watching him get stabbed and stuff is like, it's really
Pretty
fucked
brutal.
up.
Yeah.
But like, it didn't feel cruel to me. It was like realistic. It's like, yeah, that is unfortunately what happens to a lot of mentally ill people who are incarcerated. And like, you know, because I've also seen people criticize the because the guy who stabs him in the background, you see him giving himself a Glasgow smile in the background.
You hear it,
It's so like intense, and I've seen people go like, "Why would they do that?" Like, it's like Heath Ledger, and it's like,
yeah. What? I'm confused. People think it's like he's supposed to be Heath Ledger.
I don't think so. I think it's just literally like that guy probably ended up becoming Batman's Joker, like in that version of the canon. Like, or
it just goes to show that that guy's also unwell, and he just wants to be like. Well, there's a lot of people who, you know, like a lot of people have gotten killed in prison, like Jeffrey Dahmer, and like, and I mean, people who killed them didn't know them personally, or at least with Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't really know. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who, it's not like the person killed them had a personal vendetta against them. But part of it, they were like in there for life. They don't have anything to lose. And then they like do get like attention for it. Like people, then they know about you. And like, so that, I think that must have been part of it, was like, because I actually noticed the second time around, he is like in a lot of the film.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah. Like just all the shots when they're like watching TV or they're in the dining room, there's always a shot at some point of like, that's just focus on him watching, and he's like always really intently watching, and like and he's not like jumping up and singing, he's not like really doing anything crazy, but he the whole time is like closely watching him.
I mean, to me it's like that's just I mean, Dahmer, I was thinking about Dahmer a lot during it for some reason.
I guess I think because he's like handsome, and like, because we love to glorify these dudes who do horrible things, and it's like when we don't see it personally, it's so hard to like conceive of it. But I guess people did see it personally because they were watching live TV with Joker, and they still like were into it. I mean, it all felt so true to me. Like in this just like way that it's like, it stayed true to itself the entire time. And that's why too the criticism of it like somehow voiding out the first movie, or him, like, it's Todd Phillips saying like, I didn't like it just doesn't make sense. I think people project way too much, and I mean we're both probably doing that to some extent, but I don't think so. Like, I think the way people are negatively talking about this is because they went in with some sort of expectations. And it was a movie that wanted you, you could not have expected that it was going to be what it was. Yeah, totally.
There's just no
and that's what because I didn't really think too much about it beforehand, and obviously I don't have much baggage with the whole DC universe, so I'm just like, I'm gonna see this movie. So as a movie, I was like, this was a cool movie. I enjoyed watching this movie as a movie, and like, I don't care about like how the lore is built into it, or like the nods to like, and also the first time I thought that Harvey Dent was like dead for some reason, or clearly dying. But the second time I was like, oh no, he has half of his face burned.
Yeah.
So they're always doing that. Like, there's just like little homages that like you don't have to know about. But
well, I think like that being in there too, I think it helped with like the misdirect of like when Arthur gets in the car, and it's like, oh, he's gonna like go start like a clown revolution or whatever. It's like, I just saw Two-Face in there. Like, this is a Batman movie.
That's a good point.
It like almost like psychologically tricked me into like, for a second, being like, yeah, okay, cool, like, let's do it. And then it's like, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
I'll read the ones that you sent to me.
Okay.
This is by Jolie Darrow. If I ever have my stand-up joke notebook stolen and presented to the court, I hope they read out my Oliver Twist is a little bitch bit. That's great.
Yeah, I just liked that because like I do think the thing that everybody forgets is like he's a failed stand-up comedian.
Yeah, that is really funny. It's like it is a nightmare for anyone who journals to imagine their journal being read in court and everything being taken seriously. And it's even worse if you're like a struggling stand-up and like writing all these bad jokes and now they're being read to everyone.
Oh, and I forgot that he like literally is like, don't, that's private.
Yeah,
like in the middle of the
he like takes the like mic.
It's so
like, these are my private jokes.
It's so like, I'm the thing I'm doing that's like wrong is like I'm like, oh, this poor fucking serial killer.
Yeah, I guess it's hard not to. I mean, people always say that about any media, about any killer.
Yeah.
Because you're like focusing on the killer, and it's like, I don't think then it's like we're all naturally curious about these people. You know what I mean? But it is just going to be glorified in a way because then you have more empathy for them, which isn't necessary. It's like, well, that person is a real person. Like Jeffrey Dahmer was abused, and that doesn't mean you have empathy for what he did, but you have empathy for this like sad child who was abused.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, like that's why Dahmer's somebody that I got it out of my system finally because I watched the Ryan Murphy series, which I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a hater on Ryan Murphy.
No, I love Ryan Murphy. But I was always like, as a kid, I was always obsessed with him because I was like, it was this like deconstruction of like people are either good or bad, because to me it was like always like, oh, this is like somebody who clearly was very mentally ill and had brain damage and alcoholism, but he also like lived in a time where he couldn't be out as a gay guy, so he had this whole shame component to it. And like there's something too that I think the Ryan Murphy show did well, which is like he was like childlike. Like he would force his victims to watch Return of the Jedi.
I forgot about that.
Like, that's so pathetic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really, you know, and I had the same thing, and it's not me excusing what he did. Like, because there's also like with him, especially, like there was a whole racial element to like what he was doing that was so fucked.
Yeah.
Like the reason he got away with it was just because
people didn't like believe.
Yeah.
They weren't paying attention. Yeah.
But like, I do think it's like the world we live in, the society we've built for ourselves, does not have any empathy for people that are pushed to the edge. They're pushed beyond humanity. They're resorting back to a despicable animalistic state. Like, I have empathy for those people because I think that's something ultimately we all have to face. We all, I mean, not to get completely black-pilled on here, but it's just like, what do we think the government's gonna do when the earth is too hot? You think they're gonna take care of us? They're not. Like, they're just not. Like, we live in a society that is not, like, does not take care of people when they need it. Mm-hmm. And we're pushed to a state of, like, you know, and that's to me what those Joker movies are really about. It's like the American tragedy, really. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you.
I love it.
I'm having a blast doing this, and I never thought that I would ever have a platform to talk about this stuff this much.
Oh my God.
So I feel so up my own ass. So thank you for the opportunity.
I'm loving this. I mean, yeah, I've just been immersed in all this Joker stuff. That's what we said. I have no one else who wants to talk about it. So, and I haven't even watched like everything, but honestly, I mean, it's just interesting, like with how people get frustrated or like annoyed with like this take on the Joker. It's like, but everything is a take on everything is a take on the characters, and it's like it's kind of like Shakespeare or something. Like there's so many movies based on Shakespeare plays that you can like use these characters, obviously not totally freely without repercussions, but like that's, I think what's cool about it is like different interpretations. So it's like, I don't know what people, it's like they like, I don't know. It's like people like some freedom to be taken because they want to be like surprised from the comic books, I guess. Or how many people even read the comic books? Or like, I don't know.
I don't know.
How much, it's like they want it to stay true, but then they also like it can't be like boring. I don't know. Maybe they just want it to stay true in whatever way they.
I think that's what it is. And I mean, I've always been, I think I'm a lot more lenient on reboots and remakes and like,
Yeah.
Cause my whole thing is always just like, yeah, like it doesn't replace the thing that already exists.
Yeah,
Like
it doesn't ruin. You can just
No.
like ignore it, or you just see it as its own thing.
Yeah. Like I think the only one that has the exception to that would be Star Wars. I am like, I don't think like Star Wars is ruined for me, but just how many.
I'm not up on Star Wars either.
It's just the amount of Star Wars movies there
yeah.
are now. I'm just like, it used to be like this thing that was like every couple decades there'd be like a Star Wars movie, and now there's like TV shows and multiple TV
Isn't that
shows.
the same with like DC though, or not?
I guess, but like it's like with Star Wars, it was special. Like, and I guess it was kind of it was like with comic book movies, it was more. There was like, it was spread out, so we weren't like subjected to a new one like every 4 months like we kind of are now.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason I'm more forgiving with comic book movies, especially like ones like that, like this that kind of offered up a new take. And you know, like that there was that Flash movie that came out this year that people hated, and to me it was like, you know, I know you haven't read Flash comics,
no.
but it was a very, for me, felt like a faithful representation of those comics and those characters. It was they had homages to the 1989 Batman in it.
Okay, I've seen that now.
It starred, yes, it starred. Like it to me, it was just, there was so much going for it, and people hated that too. I think people's brains are just fucking broken.
Yeah, that's like what I was like wondering with this Joker too. Is like, I don't know, like what did you people want? Because like,
Yeah.
and on Letterboxd, it's like, you know, everyone is like hating on everything, which like I get, but the Letterboxd crowd didn't like the first Joker for the most part. I mean, everyone's like liberal arts school, like I am one too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it's like, okay, so you weren't the audience, so like why'd you go see the second one and like give it a shit? Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't know, I guess you should see the second one anyway, even if you didn't like the first one. But it just feels like, well, why are you so like upset when you didn't like the first one? And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, are you
Or I'm
that
like,
surprised?
Yeah, I'm like, and for me, I went in with like low expectations, but I just like wanted to be entertained. Back to the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
But I think that's maybe just how I feel about those like characters and stuff. I'm not like really emotionally attached to them, you know?
I'm sure that's what it comes down to.
I think I just did a loop around that didn't totally make sense.
No, it makes total.
I'm just trying to make
perfect
sense of people, all these people.
But it doesn't. It's impossible to make sense of, because it is just like, I think it's like what is so fascinating just about watching this movie come out is like you're seeing everything that is wrong about media literacy right now. I think
Yes,
is like, it's
media literacy, great term.
It's
yeah.
just not like, because I watched, and this wasn't on Letterboxd. This was I will not say who it was because I don't want to give her any more clicks. But there was this YouTuber who was reviewing the movie, and most of her criticisms of it were like things like, I don't think it was nice that Harley tricked Arthur. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't nice.
Yeah, was it? Like, it's not a real person. Like, so you're sad that like, and like, that's, I think it's kind of the same thing.
Did it have to do with like the gender kind of flipping of it, or no?
It just literally seemed like she didn't like the fact that the character did that to him in this like almost way of like if it was a real person.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of takes like that. Where I think even the last one that we were, not Jolie's, but the one before that, where it's like it's like a juvenile end to this character. It's like, is it? Like, I've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, spoiler alert, dies at the end of Titanic. Is it cruel that he like sunk to the bottom of the goddamn fucking ocean? No, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Couldn't fit on the
And also,
door.
yeah, I actually rewatched Titanic like a couple of months ago. I was sobbing.
Oh, I cried so much.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I didn't anticipate that, but like also, it's like in the end, like they weren't gonna work out. Like she was rich. This was not gonna work out. So it's like better for her, like fantasy, to be like, oh my love, like instead of it turning into this like class like awkward situation that wouldn't have worked out well for anybody. You know what I mean?
No,
like that's why it's a beautiful ending, because you don't have to think about that.
Well, and it's like because like the movie itself, or the Titanic itself, is like, I don't know. It's like, because I've seen people say that that like love story is cheesy and stuff, and it's like, when do you ever see like Romeo and Juliet in this like context of like class, like you said, like where it is just like, because the Titanic was just like the American system distilled into one thing, the rich people,
one boat.
Like exactly. Oh
yeah. Anyways,
Leo
is Joker. I'm glad that didn't happen. Okay, I'm just gonna read the last few ones that you sent me, and then we should probably move on, because I'm sure we'll still talk about this in the next movies. Okay, this is by Trevor Drinkwater. This movie genuinely made me want to grow the fuck up and get over myself.
I mostly sent you that one because that's the guy who plays the Riddler and the People's Joker, and
cool.
It was the first glimmer of hope I had when I saw that he liked it. I was like, I think I'm gonna like Joker too if he likes it.
Okay, well, I think that was a good one.
Yeah, it's a
okay, and here's by Ayofi Josie Clements. Dancer in the Dark for people who did Suicide Squad couples costumes. A beautiful movie about how being an edgelord has an expiration date and how love is the only respite from cynicism. I cried multiple times. That's well said. Yeah.
I mean, I have nothing to add to that one either. Where it's I think the only thing is just like that was my feeling watching it too, where it was just like, oh, like this is about how it's not sustainable to just break down you can't just burn down everything and expect that that's going to build a mountain.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Like it's and being an edgelord, I'm exhausted with it.
Okay. Final review I'll read. This is by Ellie. She said, kind of obsessed with how he spends the entire movie being like, IDK, she just gets me, cigarette emoji. It's very accurate. It's so funny when the psychiatrist like drops the bomb that like, or not the psychiatrist, the lawyer drops the bomb that she's a psychiatrist and like lives in the Upper West Side, and he's like, you wouldn't get it. Like, that response was so unexpected. He doesn't even really react. Like obviously later, like does sit with him, but he's just like, no, like he's not even denying it. He just says you wouldn't get it.
He's just so it's so like
he just lost his virginity. I mean,
he really is. It's so like relatable just to what it's like being a fucking like loser. And to like, because I don't know, like I've been in so many relationships where it is like it ends and then it's like, what was this big fantasy that like I built up, and like it was this representation of that I'd never really seen in a movie before. And it's in the same way that the first one is kind of a really dumbed down version of Taxi Driver. This was a dumbed down version of like what, like what an actual toxic codependent like fantasy addict relationship looks like. Like it's just so tragic.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, let's move on.
Let's talk about fun Batman.
Yeah. Batman Forever, 1995, directed by Joel Schumacher. Batman must battle a disfigured district attorney and a disgruntled former employee with help from an amorous psychologist and a young circus acrobat. That's really
so
interesting.
Funny, like wording it that way. Like.
It's a really disgruntled former employee. Yeah, I guess that's what happens.
Yeah, that's like a pretty
And look, there's
detailed
you.
description. Oh my god.
I know you're on every Letterboxd.
Well, because I think every single interview I did for the People's Joker, I shouted out Batman Forever.
Oh, nice.
Like I really did, because it was like, it's still like, I mean, it's starting to get reclaimed and people are starting to like talk about it in a positive way, but most of my life it has been just like, that's when Batman got shitty.
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess because people prefer like a hyper realist, like,
I guess. And also like, because the one that came before, there were two Tim Burton ones that came before.
Yeah.
And like
89.
and then the one in 92 was with Catwoman and Danny DeVito. And both of those they weren't realistic, but they were dark. And Joel Schumacher just like wanted to make
That's
like a
true, yeah.
colorful, silly, fun Batman movie.
Yeah,
And
definitely gay.
just like an expensive
The Riddler
gay art
and
film.
and Two-Face or whatever he's called.
Yes.
There was like some very intimate moments. They were having a blast.
I love Two-Face, whatever he's called. It's so funny because like
was like, is he
most of the people
half-face?
listening to this, I think, will have more Batman knowledge than you. It's
Well, my mom will be listening to this and she'll have no idea.
it's good
But
to
that's
make a mom friendly.
probably-
Yeah.
I'm getting an audience of people who hopefully are not frustrated with me for not knowing.
I don't
things,
think
but-
people will be frustrated. I'm enjoying it.
Okay,
It's like
good.
it's enjoyable. I can't think of the last time I've never talked about Batman. We've been sitting here for like 2.5 hours. Like I've never talked about Batman this much. It's like
Wow, I love it.
it's the afternoon of a lifetime. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, let's see what the most popular review is. It's by Josh Lewis. Schumacher took some of the most gorgeous, neon-lit, elaborately designed sets, matte paintings, and miniatures of the 90s, and one of the most lucrative blockbuster studio IPs, and made it into a campy cartoon romp about a few extremely horny costume fetishists and drag enthusiasts trying to kill each other. Jim Carrey spends most of his screen time in a green onesie, dancing with a pimp cane and screaming shit like "spank me" and "joygasm" while blowing shit up. And Nicole Kidman spends most of hers flirting and making innuendos in black gowns and lingerie because she wants to fuck a man in a full body rubber suit. No choice but to stand, unfortunately. R.I.P. to a king. Well said.
I mean, it's so funny because like the part of the reason why I shouted it out so much, and like while I was and I parody Batman Forever in The People's Joker. Like we have a moment in the beginning of the movie where young Joker's watching a movie with a rubber nippled Batman, and like it's definitely an homage to Batman Forever, and it's coming from a place of like when I saw Batman Forever as a kid, like because I saw it in the theaters, I was like 6, and seeing Nicole Kidman in the movie, it was just like, oh, something's different about me because I feel represented by this in some way. And like it's like when
this really horny, gorgeous woman.
yeah, and it just
love it.
being like it's just so queer, and the rubber suits, and
Yeah, like the sexuality is so like over. It's so like when it is overtly sexual, it's like very overt, like, you know. And then it was funny. I was thinking, I was like, oh, the only like not gay character is Nicole Kidman. Then I was like, wait a second. She is like obsessed with this like mythological creature of Batman, right? And this is like a typical like lesbian thing that happens is you're like fantasize about like a star or just like a guy who's like out of reach, and then if they actually show interest in you, you're like, oh, never mind. Like
Yeah,
that's what she
yeah.
did, and she was like, wait, she turned him down.
No,
in the
it,
suit.
it really is. It really is like it's everybody's queer in it, and even Val Kilmer. Like
I liked him.
He's like his lips are so luscious. Like he's
I know.
he's a very femme Bruce Wayne. Like it's
Yeah.
it's and I think like what I like. Have you seen other Joel Schumacher movies?
Not yet. No.
His like the way he his like I think something that he does really well with his like female leads is like they're sexual, but they're not sexualized.
Mm.
There's like because he's gay,
Right.
as
The
fuck.
gaze isn't like
Yeah.
look at this in the way that a straight man's gaze is.
Yeah.
All right, this time the microphone died, but we're gonna go back. But if there's a sudden cut, so yeah, let's read this review again by Alex Hunter. What a tragedy that Joel believed fans hated him for misunderstanding the character, when in reality, I think he misunderstood Bruce Wayne in Gotham. No, I think he understood Bruce Wayne in Gotham in such a personal, tragic way. People talk about the homoerotic nature of the Joel's Batman, but never beyond the aesthetics. Repressed men trying to fit into an insane society that rejects trauma, forced to hide during the day, free to be who they are once the sun sets and the neon lights start shining. Edward Nygma longing to be someone who is pretending to be normal, straight, acceptable. Bruce trying to accept the hidden parts of himself. Chris O'Donnell here is the best Jason Todd with the name and Circus of Grayson we've gotten. Release Joel's cut, please.
Yeah, I mean, it is just putting it that way is like better than I ever could have articulated it, because it is like, it's not just like Nicole Kidman and like fetishizing rubber suits that's like there. It's just every character kind of is queer on some level. And Two-Face is poly, because he's got a girlfriend for each side.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Two-Face is Polly, and that set design was incredible. Everything half.
Yes.
That was great.
It's so like it's like, I think what also is queer about the movies that Joel did, like, there's a very like operatic campiness to it that isn't realistic, but because of that, it's emotionally realistic in a way that I think like the Nolan ones aren't, in like a lot of other ones aren't. Like I just think like even the Todd Phillips Joker movies, like I think if those were cranked up a little bit more in the campiness, you might be able to feel something a little bit more. At least that's my whole thing with it. It's like I feel really bad for this version of Bruce, who's like going through like an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And his cut, the Schumacher cut of the movie is like much more, there's a lot more Bruce Wayne stuff, and you really get to see like he like has like a psychedelic trip where he sees like this like giant bat and like has to really confront the fact that like he's got this like fragmented identity, and it's like,
I'm glad they bring in the bat more. Like,
yeah, no, you would
go
get
into that more.
the explanation of like why.
There was one part where like he sees one of those ink blot like test things on like Nicole Kidman's wall, and he's like, "Why do you have a picture of a bat on your wall?" And she's like, "No, people see like what they want to see," and but it just is clearly a picture of a bat. Like, it's just in the shape of a bat.
Well, and it's funny too, because it's like, well, she clearly has a bat fetish too, so
she
it's
could be
like
very aware
it's
of
like
that.
they're both like, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: they're not together in the next movie.
Oh, bummer. Does she come back?
She doesn't. No.
Oh, bummer.
I don't know if I feel like it's like, I can't remember if this was before or after the recorder cut out, but like, to your point of it like being like very like part of the lesbian pattern of like idealizing, and then it like
It's too real.
It just does feel like a relationship that isn't like meant to last.
Another
because,
fantasy
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
completely.
Of seeing, oh yeah, there we go. I mean, Joker is Arthur Fleck. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Although Bruce Wayne is much more glamorous and attractive and everything. But she can't handle it being a real person.
Yeah.
Let's read this one by Anna Nomely. Oh, Anna Nomely. Okay.
It's like Enigma.
Yeah, exactly. It is so wonderful to have matured past that annoying rite of passage most cinephiles go through. You know the phase, you know the attitude. Call it silly equals bad or campy equals incapable of gravitas. But it's needless posturing, and it keeps one from appreciating glorious exercises in idiosyncrasy like Batman Forever, one of the purest expressions of a queer filmmaker ever executed on such a large scale and with such a giant price tag. that it's also one hell of an entertaining, funny, and stylish comic book movie is honestly just icing on the cake. Yeah. The thrills are thrilling, the explorations of identity are even more so. I loved this movie as a kid. I pretended it wasn't any good as a teen, and I'm delighted to come out, on the other side as an adult.
Yeah, I mean, I remember...
Did you go through a phase of...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because I was a comedian for a really long time, too, so, like, I really, like... got so irony poisoned that I just kind of hated everything.
Yeah, I jaded.
Yeah, and I feel like transitioning, like starting my transition coincided with me kind of like moving back to a place of like, oh yeah, like I liked My Chemical Romance. Like I need to stop talking shit about that. Or and like Batman was a huge like in Batman Forever and that was like one of the things too with making the People's Joker that like at least for me it felt very punk to make something that sincere and because like I think it's not really thought of, and I don't think it works for some people. Like I know some people watch the movie and they call it cringe or whatever, and it's like I get it, but like it's just it wears its like emotions on its sleeve, and that was for me, anytime I've like talked shit about stuff that I loved when I was a kid, it's really me just harming my inner child. Like Kevin Smith's the same thing, where it's just like I've been so hard on him, and it's like just me being mean to 15-year-old me, I think.
So it's Joker and Kevin Smith.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
The two wolves.
What would a Kevin Smith Joker movie look like?
it would be just Joker like talking about his dick and I would be and I would go see it. I mean, it'd basically be the people. Somebody actually posted this picture from Amadeus. I can't remember. Have you seen Amadeus?
No.
I can't. This is a reference that won't even make sense because I can't remember who. I haven't seen Amadeus, but there was like the guy who was jealous of Mozart because he came after him. And like somebody posted a picture of that guy and it said Kevin Smith watching the People's Joker.
Oh my God.
Because I really do think like on some level, if Kevin Smith made a Joker or a Batman movie, it probably would it would be set in New Jersey. It would be like Joker runs a convenience store.
Totally.
It would just be his,
Mumblecore. It would be more mumblecore, I think, though.
Yes.
Than yours.
No, it would, The camera wouldn't move as much. I think like the boardrooms had less power in the 90s. I really do.
Yeah.
I think like directors got a lot more free reign. And honestly, like it's the thing that's kind of tragic too about like Joker 2 kind of bombing is like I can't see a world where any director at Warner Brothers gets just handed a blank check to make one of these movies again.
Because I didn't really look super into it, but I just saw that he like I don't know, was keeping DC as far away as possible during like pre-production and production, or maybe even post. So yeah, that's a bummer that it backfired. But it's like, and the numbers for like the opening weekend was only like 30 million or something. I guess they were expecting like double or triple that or something. But I'm like, I wonder, is that because of like social media, like word of mouth? Because it feels like just social media is like overwhelmed with people hating on it. And it's like, is that why? Like, can it be that powerful?
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, I think like, because every take that's negative, not every take, but a lot of the takes are the same. And it just does feel like it's like kind of an echo chamber.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I felt that to some degree with my movie, but like the other way sometimes, where I'd be like critics, because we got kind of universally praised by critics. Like our audience score is a little bit lower, and it's because we get review bombed sometimes on Rotten Tomatoes. But like
being like I was gonna say cyberbullied. but
Kind
what's
of,
the
yeah,
word?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just by like trolls or
A
like
little fat kid, which
What's
I
the
am
word?
still deep down.
It's actually it's kind of condescending to call it cyberbullying.
No,
so
it
let's
is.
call it
It's
that for
fine.
what it is.
It is like what it
They're
is.
not on you, on those
Ultimately,
people.
no. It's
Yeah.
like it is them being like it's like what a waste of their time to like attack, like just give attention to something that they apparently don't like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like watching every critic kind of love it. I mean, I of course want that.
Right.
But it was also this thing of just like, is it actually good, or just is it just like people are afraid to like disagree? But then there was
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I know what you mean, because you're like, oh, this is like people are afraid to critique something that's like not the like a story that people see a lot or something.
Yeah, and we were like an underdog story too, like just the fact that like the movie almost didn't come out, and like a trans woman that I like was on the record multiple times that I was in debt for making it. Like it felt like it was like, you know, but that could also be my imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think it is. But I know what you mean. But yeah, I definitely think it's great.
I've gotten really
In my
vulnerable
opinion.
on this, more like because
Yeah.
just,
I also think this light with the sun is setting, but this light is like super bright. Calling this episode like Joker 2 is good. It's very true, because every title is like Joker 2 sucks. Joker 2 is the worst. It's like the worst movie ever. Yeah, hates its audience. Yeah, what do you say to that?
I just don't think anybody would make a movie for that reason.
Yeah.
Like Todd Phillips wants to make more movies. I think he'd try. And look, I don't necessarily, I'm not saying Todd Phillips is a great dude. I've heard he's not very cool with unions. I'm only just giving him the benefit of the doubt that like, I don't think somebody makes a movie to kill their fucking successful movie career. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like that's just not, I think there's like a level of subversion there, but like I don't know. It's I just don't think I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've like people just don't know how hard it is to make a movie.
Yeah.
Like they think it like literally is just like turning on the cameras, but it's like he spent years making that.
Yeah.
Like
many years for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he probably did want to like.
I think he wanted to like find a new audience, which I think is
Yeah.
cool. Is like, but not to necessarily say something like so abrasive to the, just to like do something different. I don't know. Doing something different is not saying, you're saying fuck you to your audience, right? Like,
No, theoretically, it's like what a fan of something should want.
Right.
I think it's like Twin Peaks: The Return is like the perfect example where it's like I remember watching that as it aired, and like there was one podcast in particular that I would listen to that was like a pretty prominent Twin Peaks fan podcast, and they were so disappointed in it, and it was interesting to listen to because I was like, oh, you guys clearly wanted the version
warm
of
and
it.
cozy, like
Just coffee and donuts. It's like,
Washington. Yeah.
no, he gave us something that we had to think about.
Like, what did you think David Lynch was going to do? Also, like,
Oh yeah,
you can't expect anything from him. Do you have much more to say about Batman Forever? Maybe I'll just read like one more and then move.
no,
on.
I think
Okay.
maybe just one more.
This is the final one by Jamel Bowie. They should have kept the nipples on the bat suit.
Yeah.
They really are like you like really look at them. You're like,
Yeah, you
they're
can't
very
not.
like prominent.
They're not like they're generous nipples. Too.
Yeah,
like I'm not
totally.
saying that like they're big like per se, but they're not small.
Yeah,
and
and they
they're
really stand out on like the sleek veneer of the bat suit.
yeah. It's interesting. I think
Yeah.
it was like he wanted it to be like sculpt like Greek statues was like it's just very gay. Like just
Yeah.
very like
Totally.
Joel Schumacher said he had sex with
Oh my god, I saw this.
20,000 Men.
Yeah, I saw that because I was like, I need to read about this guy's personal life, and then it said between 10 and 20,000, which is quite a big.
That's a huge
window, but still, even the lowest, it being 10,000, is like remarkable. And he didn't get AIDS. He was like, I was convinced I was going to have AIDS, and then I didn't. So good for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he lived a long and fruitful life.
Yeah, seriously. Let's move on to The Dark Knight.
Let's.
The Dark Knight, 2008, directed by Christopher Nolan. I'll add, this was the only thing that I'd seen, and I'd seen it in 2008.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to a world without rules. Batman raises the stakes in his war on crime. With the help of Lieutenant Jim Gordon and District Attorney Harvey Dent, Batman sets out to dismantle the remaining criminal organizations that plague the streets. The partnership proves to be effective, but they soon find themselves prey to a reign of chaos unleashed by a rising criminal mastermind known to the terrified citizens of Gotham as the Joker. Any initial thoughts before we read the reviews?
I love Heath Ledger's version of the Joker, and I don't particularly love this movie.
Yeah.
And I know I'm in a minority.
Yeah, the most liked review is, if you do not like this movie, I do not like you.
Yeah, I believe it.
Cinema Clown.
Well. I get it. I've had that. Tim Heidecker and I have argued about the Christopher Nolan Batman movies because he really loves them, and for me, I just don't. I mean, we'll get into it more, but I just don't. I don't. It feels like he's almost embarrassed to be making a comic book movie.
He's trying to like transcend it in some way.
Yeah, and just be so grounded. And to me, like, I love Christopher Nolan's filmography.
Yeah.
But I love it because he's a very big visual. He's like one of the few big filmmakers we have, I think, like, and genre filmmakers too. Like, he really, he's like a Spielberg level or like a James Cameron level. And like, these movies are just boring to me. I'm riveted every time Joker's on screen though.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that this was exciting to me on this rewatch, mostly because it gave me a lot more backstory. I understood Two-Face. I keep wanting to say No-Face because of Spirited Away. Very different character.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger's amazing, and his mouth sounds. I like watch a lot of ASMR, and those mouth sounds are like so visceral. Well, because it's like he has these scars that like some mess up, but then he like. I don't know how Heath Ledger actually talked in real life, but it's like his mouth is so like filled with spit the whole movie, and like he just makes himself so like grotesque, and like but yeah, I feel like this is the movie that I like. This is what I think of as like comic book movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess this is one of the few I've seen, but also because it's like it feels so like straightforward and like I mean, it's a really good movie, but yeah, it's not like. It feels very serious and like very like, but not in like a super dark horror-y way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more like crime. Like it feels like crime is bad in like a serious way. You know what I mean?
It doesn't make. It's so different than Joker and Joker Foie Gras. It's so. It does not. No part of it makes crime look cool at all. And. I don't know what it says about me, but I would rather watch a movie where crime is fun, or at least like I'm watching it be something like in the Joker 2 where it's like you're really punished for like killing a talk show host on TV. It's in these movies I do, but I agree with you, the Ledger thing, like it's like the first it's really the only portrayal of Joker besides mine that I can think of that has like body horror as like an element, and that's like I'd say that's like a key component.
Because of his face.
Yeah,
definitely. He's like gross to look at.
Yeah, and he's like not he's like falling apart. Like it's just like
totally. Yeah. I was just thinking about the guy in the Joker 2 at the end again, and I'm like, do people just think that has something to do with Heath Ledger's Joker because of the scars? Because
I guess,
in the like comic books, did he have those? Or
I think it depends, because there's so many different origin stories for him in the books, and I think like the main idea is that like he is like it's chemicals that like have forced him to like get like a Joker
the acid
grin,
bath and stuff.
But there are like self-mutilation. There's a Joker who cut off his own face.
Whoa.
Just to like be nuts, I guess. Oh, it's just so he could wear it as a mask. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like it's so. I mean, I assume there is one with a Glasgow smile. I'm drawing a blank right now. But to me, it's like maybe it's definitely not in the same canon. So anybody that's like making
that's
that,
what I'm wondering is like, oh, there's a second Joker, like, and that's a prequel to The Dark Knight or something. Like, what are you saying?
It wouldn't track. But it could be like referring to that in the sense that like what I've seen is I saw this guy on Twitter that was like, this shows that like the actual Joker is somebody like Joaquin or like Heath Ledger's Joker. That is like, yes, like a self-mutilating criminal mastermind, because he's brilliant.
Yeah, he is a criminal mastermind. Yeah, like he just keeps getting away with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have it's kind of a long review, but it's really interesting. This is by Pine, 1 star, and it's pretty high up there. It's the 4th most liked review, but it's the only like negative one for Miles on here. But there are some people who agree. Okay. I don't think I will ever not be angry with the Nolan Batman films, but let's just focus on this one scene. The "some men just want to watch the world burn" scene, because it is the perfect evidence for just how committed Nolan's films are to casting anyone resisting oppressive systems as villains. Alfred. A long time ago, I was in Burma. My friends and I were working for the local government. They were trying to buy the loyalty of the tribal leaders by bribing them with precious stones. But their caravans were being raided in a forest north of Rangoon by a bandit. So we went looking for the stones. But in 6 months, we never met anyone who traded with him. One day, I saw a child playing with a ruby the size of a tangerine. The bandit had been throwing them away. Bruce, so why steal them? Alfred. Because he thought it was good sport. Because some men aren't looking for anything logical like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. First of all, Alfred can only have been in Myanmar as part of the British colonialists or desperate remnant of that government. I like really didn't think about Alfred's backstory. I was like, oh yeah, this is dark. Who occupied the country for over 100 years. And their motivation for trying to buy the loyalty of the tribal leaders would have therefore been to get them under British colonial powers and influence. But this manipulation tactic is being sabotaged by a bandit who's giving the precious stones to the people. Alfred calls this throwing the stones away, and neither he nor Bruce seem to be able to fathom another reason the bandit would be raiding the caravans. Now framing the actions of a revolutionary who is resisting British imperial powers and redistributing hoarded wealth to the people as illogical, chaotic, unreasonable, and just watching the world burn seems a little bit evil. Not to mention that nowhere in the story did Alfred point to anything harmful the bandit did besides depriving the government of their leverage over the people, which, if that's all it takes to make someone evil in the Nolanverse, then yikes. And then Alfred lists the way you can tell if someone is illogical. 1, they aren't looking for money. They can't be bought. 2, they can't be bullied. It is incredible to me that he begins the list this way, to be honest, as though those attributes are bad, as they're trying to manipulate people with them as somehow logical and safe. 3, they can't be reasoned or negotiated with. In this instance, of course, this frames the British colonialists as the only reasonable ones and acts as though any negotiations they offer would be honest or safe. But then comes the most famous and most baffling line. Some men just want to watch the world burn. How? How is that what the bandit, how is what the bandit doing burning the world or watching the world burn or chaotic or anything other than resisting an occupying colonial force? And then later in the film, when Alfred finally explains how they caught the bandit, he says, "We burned the forest down." Do you not remember that?
About that. Wow.
And it's like this supposed to be this like mic drop
Yeah.
moment. Okay, who did? Alfred and the other British colonialists. They were not only the men watching the world burn, they were the ones burning it.
Literally.
And look who he blames. Fuck. TLDR, Ankarad to Alfred, who burned the world. Is that a quote from something that I'm not understanding? But I love that. Literally, who's watching the world burn and who lit the fires is you. Like, that analogy makes no sense. And I love that they just did a deep dive and were like, what do you, because writing that story, like, I love going into that and being like, oh, it's really saying something about Christopher Nolan's psyche, that he came up with this story as the, like, analogy. You know, it comes back at the end to, like, pack a punch to be like, oh, yeah, we gotta, like, burn them down. And it's like, what are you trying to say?
Thank you for pulling that one. Because that just blew my mind and is a more succinct way of, I mean, because, like, I do think like, Dark Knight ends with, like, a tech company developing a machine that is able to surveil every single person in the world.
Right.
And it's thought of as, like, a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Like, it's the most conservative, and not in any, it's fascist.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And, like, what this review is describing is also, like, it's colonialism and it's fascism, and it's the, like, this idea that, like, an oppressor, like, when an oppressor is, like, pushing somebody down, it's like, look at what you're making me do to you.
Yes.
Like, it's so, and that is, like, and it's there in those movies, and I don't think it's, like, a commentary on that. Like, I think it'd be interesting if it
doesn't feel like a commentary,
but it's
at
not.
all. No.
And I don't know that it's Christopher Nolan's politics, because I don't really see that as much in his other films. I do think there's something weird that happens when British people make American art. I really
become fascist.
I've just noticed between Sacha Baron Cohen and Alex Garland, who I also love, like, I didn't see Civil War, but, like, making a movie that's kind of apolitical called Civil War is very
really
British. But yeah, I don't know. That is such a, thank God that person did the legwork.
I know. Thank you, Pine, who's goes by Soft Pine on Letterboxd. Yeah, that's so wild. And also that I kind of forgot about the surveillance thing, because it's like he like uses it for, like, good in the end, even though it's, like, this bad scary thing, and he's like, this is, you know, Batman has reservations about it, but then he, like, uses it, and then at the end he, like, stops using it or, like, deletes it, or I don't think he even deletes it though, but it's kind of this concept of, like, capitalism not being inherently, like, evil, because even if someone comes up with this, like, crazy technology, like, we can trust people to not use it to exploit people, because they'll be, like, good guys at the end of the day, like Batman, who will, like, only use it for the good. And it's like, it's never how it happens.
Yeah.
It will always be abused as far as it can, you know?
Well, it's like how propaganda functions too.
Totally.
It's like the only time
They're
you
the
ever
good guys.
see police corruption, it's usually like there's one cop who's standing up against the corruption.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not, I mean, that's all.
Yeah, he's like the good
James
one who's,
Gordon
yeah,
is
exactly.
Too. And like in the entirety of the Batman canon, which you could argue the entirety of the Batman canon is propaganda to some degree, just because, like, in the way Jim Gordon functions as, like, he was the cop that came in and cleaned up the Gotham PD, but, like, I think the piece to it that makes it extra complicated is, like, but he's also working with a vigilante,
right?
And, like, it adds this level of, like, corruption goes deep even to these people with the best intentions, but that's completely lacking in the Nolan verse. And the
Totally.
Nolan verse is just, there's good guys and there's bad guys, and, like, like I don't know, Heath Ledger's characters like the Joker in Dark Knight is obviously like evil, like he kills people and like he kills children and stuff, but like aesthetically he looks like I look more like him, not just because I'm in clown makeup, but like me and my friends our vibe is more like Heath Ledger than it is like Bruce Wayne.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, totally.
Like there's something of the like
he's
freaks
kind of punk,
verse.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And just the fact that he does the whole clown makeup thing is like, you go. Like kind of like Batman. You're like, I don't know why you have to always have this costume on, but like, yeah, I love it.
No, it's. I love that the one of the things I love about his portrayal is just that you don't know why. And you don't know anything about him.
Yeah, and then he says his like story of the scars multiple different ways. Yeah. And the first time you think, oh, was he like getting vulnerable and like being like, I was abused, because he said his like dad gave it to him. I don't remember what the first one he said. And then he says he gave it to himself. And then you're like, oh, we can't trust anything he says. Like he's a pathological liar.
It's so... There's a fan theory that he is like a ex-GI or something.
Oh.
Just because of like his knowledge of like building bombs and stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's like other...
I feel like in these movies, though, it's like somehow people just know how to make really successful car bombs go off in downtown Gotham and stuff.
It was funny because like in the People's Joker, we were like, oh, like, well, how would she have access to guns? Like that doesn't make any sense. But then it was like, well, if like her boyfriend is like a fucking like edgelord leftist, like those guys love guns. Totally. Like it actually made sense. Like for the first time that like, but yeah, I've never liked it. How it's one of the things that I think works about the Todd Phillips Joker movies too is like he's a very messy killer. Like he's not.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and they show how he gets the gun and it falls out in the kids' class and everything.
That's great.
That just reminded me of in Suicide Squad where Jared Leto's like, I need a machine gun. Like when he's in the psych ward.
Can we get into Suicide Squad actually? Okay. Is that okay?
Yes, I need to turn on another light.
Okay, cool.
Like maybe
yeah, no, the sun's setting.
We're back. Okay. I think there might have been like one funny one I want to read about.
Oh no,
Dark Knight before we
I'm fine.
I'm excited to talk about Suicide Squad. Okay, this is by Doink to Doink. I love Letterboxd. Yeah, who says, Bruce, so let's put a couple tables together. Dent, I'm not sure that they'll let us. Bruce, oh, they should. I own the place. So that's what really burned one side of Harvey's face. Oh man, he is like, he's a lot.
Bruce, yeah, no, he's. It's honestly, it's weird because I don't particularly love Christian Bale's Batman, but I do think he's a great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
I think he's a fantastic Bruce Wayne. Like I think but he is just playing Patrick Bateman.
I know, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, have you seen The Prestige?
No.
It's probably my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, and I mean, he's never going to see this. Nobody's going to ever tell him I said this. Please don't.
I will.
Just because he's like one of the people where it's like, I want to meet him someday, and I want him to not know anything about me because like I'm a genuine fan, and I say this as a genuine fan. But The Prestige is his best movie because like it's him at his like dumbest. It's a movie where magic is literally real.
Okay.
But it's like in this very grounded way. Like it's about Tesla and magicians, Tesla working with magicians and stuff, and it's just like there's this sincerity to it that is just missing from these movies. I feel like it's in there with Heath Ledger. Yeah. Like in how and I don't know what happened. I don't know. I think he just doesn't get Batman.
Okay, and here's another funny one by Gabby. The Joker walks in wearing a surgery mask, literally covering a third of his face. Harvey Dent, oh, hello, nurse. Have you come to feed me yogurt? I love your smoky eye makeup look. The Joker takes off the mask. Harvey, what?
No, I saw a tweet the other day. I've started multiple sentences on this podcast that way, and that says a lot about where my mental health's at right now. I saw this tweet the other day that was like, talking about how Heath Ledger's Joker isn't funny, and that to me is a prime example of he is one of the funniest Jokers.
He's so funny.
Like that is like a Bugs Bunny moment.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like Bugs Bunny showing up in drag of like, I love
when he's in the that look is just so good in the hospital gown.
Yeah, I think when I saw that there was some gendery. That was a gendery moment for me. I've had so many gendery moments.
I know, I love that. You're like, oh yeah.
I'm just realizing that now. I'm like remembering like going and seeing that movie with like my best friends and like my high school girlfriend and being like, what? What? That's weird.
I love that. That's your review.
I don't know why Batman is like so.
It's getting under your skin. Okay, on that note, here's the last review by Gieba, Jeaba. Would be it's 4.5 stars. Would be a 5-star for me if Joker wore the nurse outfit the entire movie. It's such a good look.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and just like it's such a great character that he doesn't give a shit that he's gonna wear a nurse's outfit. Like he's gonna wear a dress, and I love that he's just like he's gonna be in drag. Like he's not like a weirdo, like masculine weirdo about it. You know what I mean?
It's something that it's like my favorite versions of the Joker from the comics are that where it is like there's this like Bugs Bunny chaos mentality, like a Freddy Krueger.
Totally.
Like it's like I am so wild that I'm gonna like because it doesn't help his plan dressing up as a nurse because he's got green hair and he has the makeup.
He looks insane.
Yeah, he looks insane. He's just doing it because it's punk.
Totally.
That's the Joker to me.
Totally. Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Speaking of punk.
Oh my God, yeah, pop
2016. Punk. I guess there's a 2021 one called The Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Is it with the same people?
No. So there was a lot of drama because it was a different director, and them adding the was a fuck you to this movie.
Oh my God.
Because this movie did not do. I mean, this movie did great, actually.
Yeah, I thought it did.
So much money, but critically it didn't do well, and people. It is known as a failure by every stretch of the imagination, but
except for the money wise.
Yeah, except for the money. Should I withhold my feelings on Suicide Squad before you?
No, go for it.
This movie, Batman Forever and Suicide Squad are the reason the People's Joker exists.
Wow.
Like I saw Suicide Squad opening night, and I walked out and I was like, they finally figured out comic book movies. Like
it feels very comic book movie.
It's so it's just so like poppy and weird and like it's not great. It's not a well-written movie, but it's not well written because they were shooting one movie and then they released a trailer with a cover of I Started a Joke by the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And people loved the trailer.
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy came out, which was this fun, poppy, dumb, like rock and roll superhero movie. So Warner Brothers got scared because they were making this very dark movie. Like the original cut of Suicide Squad was going to be very like, there was a lot more Joker and Harley stuff in it. It was much more like a dark, colorful but dark comic book movie. So they went in and reshot a bunch of stuff. The entire third act was reshot. All the like, it's why most of the movie is just them walking around on a back lot talking because it's all reshoots. And for me watching it, when I did, it felt like an indie movie to me because it was just like it's like it was groundbreaking for me to see Harley Quinn sitting at a bar with Deadshot talking about her trauma because I had never seen the only reason that exists is because like studio interference. So I don't know what that says about me as a punk, but I love Hot Topic the movie, aka Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I'm just gonna read the description and stuff. 2016, directed by David Ayer. worst heroes ever. From DC Comics comes the Suicide Squad. I feel like this should be read in one of those like old-timey trailer voices. Yeah. An anti-hero team of incarcerated supervillains who act as deniable assets for the United States government, undertaking high-risk Black Ops missions in exchange for commuted prison sentences. Okay, let's see what the most liked review is. It's by Vanessa. She said, Isabelle Huppert did not come all the way from France to see Suicide Squad win an Oscar. Okay, but I think the only Oscar they won is for hair and makeup, which I'm like, yeah. Go team. They didn't win like Best Picture or something.
No. I'm sure they submitted though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of these are about the Oscar that it won. But
that's so interesting. I didn't know it won one.
Yeah, just for hair and makeup. But I thought that the hair and makeup was great. I mean, I love so wait, this is what I was gonna say with the Jared Leto Joker. Was this the first time that type of Joker had showed up? Like this iteration?
Yeah. Like this was the first time Joker was like
a modern fuckboy.
Yeah, and like that was the other thing for me that really like I was bummed that there wasn't more of him in the movie, as I was just like, this is what Joker would be.
Totally.
Like he would just
that was my feeling.
Like he wouldn't be funny.
Exactly. You wouldn't like him.
No. He'd be like gross. He'd be like fucking like Riff Raff or something.
Yeah. Like a worse version of Riff Raff.
Yeah.
Like with
or you said Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
Like it's
exactly.
Yeah, it's
like
totally
Machine Gun Kelly and what's her face? Megan Fox are like these two.
Yeah.
What's their faces?
Those are the two genders.
Harley Quinn. Literally. No, seriously, but like that's what they're trying to be, is like we're so chaotic and like this guy in this universe is actually chaotic, but in real life it would just be someone like pretending to be super badass but is actually like never been in a fight, but he has this like damaged and like probably grew up in the suburbs, but
yeah, it's like,
the look is just so good. I was like, they won an Oscar for hair and makeup, so like great work, but I was like, this is so creative to go this direction after Heath Ledger, than to imagine that the Joker is so funny.
Completely. No, I love it. I mean, and I think, I hope someday that like we get like a leaked early cut of it, just because like I think Jared Leto is probably like not a good person. There's definitely stuff out there, but like I think he might be one of the best Jokers, and we just haven't seen.
A spicy take.
Yeah. No, I mean
it's funny because people, the way I see people, like, because they're like, all these people are tweeting and stuff like, who's the best Joker? A lot saying but but like, Jared Leto is always at the bottom. Yes. And it's like, okay, I get why the character, like, he's not like compared to the others, like not a fun or as deep character to watch, or at least, I don't know, compared to the other ones. But like, I think Jared Leto is really good though as this role.
Yeah.
But people, I feel like, shit on Jared Leto for this role, but I'm like, well, I think he embraced what they gave him. You know what I mean? I don't think he didn't come up with that Joker. I mean, he's doing his own, he's acting obviously, but I think he acted really well.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
I think so too.
I think people just don't like that character, right?
Yeah. And I think he also apparently like on set, he like method acted. He like,
oh right. Didn't he like mail people weird
like
things
condoms,
or something?
He like sent Bruce Willis. Or not Bruce Willis, Will Smith.
Just randomly.
That would be very Joker-like.
Yeah.
Sending used condoms to somebody that's not even in the movie. Yeah. Will Smith. He sent dead rats and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not. And
that's wild.
But hey, whatever you got to do to, I guess, get into character. Yeah. I had to look at pictures of my dead dog to cry in my movie.
No.
So yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I didn't want to think about my actual trauma. So I was like, I'll just think of something that I love.
Like, it must be like very hard to do that when you're like, all these people are staring at you and you're also directing. So you're like thinking, I've thought about this if I were to act in something where I'm supposed to like be really upset or cry, is like, but you're in like this other mode of like, how do you get to think about your trauma in a serious way? Like that makes sense that you would have to.
Honestly, it helped that we had like it was such a small crew, and
Right.
Kane Disler, who played Mr. J, who is our Jared Leto's Joker in the movie, like
I loved that you went for that, and I didn't know that you were referencing
That's, like,
anything.
like
I
that's
thought you just came up with that whole thing, and I was like, wow, I love this like face
yeah, it was an
tattoo, like-
Oscar-winning look.
Yeah, no, but even the fact that now that I know, but like the fact that you chose to do that is so
well,
great.
thank you.
Yeah.
It was such a, when the idea clicked, because it was just like, it was also like Jared Leto having played a trans woman. It was like, I'm gonna
Right.
make
Oh, that's a good
it a
point.
trans guy, and like, yeah, I don't know. And he that was such a hard role to cast, just because like it was pre-vax COVID, and it was finding casting services need to do a better job representing trans mask people. It's very hard to find trans guys and non-binary trans mask people to like fill in a role. And we found Kane. I don't even remember how. And also just finding somebody that like would be cool playing like Jared Leto's Joker and got it. And like he just brought so much, like, it's such a grounded performance.
It really
and
is.
He made me just feel so safe on set too, because that it's based off of a really bad person who's not as likable as the character in the movie.
Okay, this is interesting because this person is commenting on the original comic. 1 star by Matt Singer. I watched the extended cut this time, which makes the catastrophic mistake of thinking the way to fix this movie is to make it longer. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. I had a phase in my 20s where I got really into the original Suicide Squad comic. Back in the early 2000s, these books were super cheap, and between dollar bins at conventions and eBay lots, I got most of John Ostrander's run. It's a great, dark, bleak series. The film version takes its perfect premise, the Dirty Dozen for superheroes, and botches it in almost every conceivable way. The casting is mostly fine. If the Suicide Squad did not exist in this movie, the problem the Suicide Squad is called to solve would not exist either. The movie's villain is a member of Suicide Squad who goes rogue, and the whole second act is about rescuing a mystery character who, actual spoiler alert, turns out to be the creator and boss of the Suicide Squad. Basically, the Suicide Squad in this movie is how Homer Simpson describes alcohol. It's the cause of and the solution to all of the story's problems. But hey, I guess no matter how terrible Joker is, Joaquin Phoenix can rest assured that he could never possibly be the worst Joker ever committed to film. That's something, right? So this person wrote this back in 2019 before the other Joker came out, I guess. But I think that doesn't seem like a negative thing to me. Like I don't see how this is like a critique, you know?
Well, I do think it highlights something, that the story is kind of broken, that it's like the stakes are a little weird when it's like the Suicide Squad in the comics, it's like they're the people you send for suicide missions where the stakes are so high that you wouldn't send a hero.
Oh.
And in this case, it's like,
okay, that makes sense.
They're doing that, but they're doing that to rescue somebody that is also a member of the suicide, or to rescue Amanda Waller. And I kind of get what they're saying. I mean, look, at the end of the day, these are just fucking comic book movies. Like,
yeah, that's always what I think.
I just like want to watch a bunch of like colorful people in capes.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's like interesting that we both have similar feelings about it, coming from, because I'm like, well, I don't really care, but you're like really like invested in like, or like grew up with it, and so it's cool that, or like, I don't know, it's just interesting that it's like you don't have to be so attached if you are like emotionally invested in some way, or like you can be open to like different interpretations of it, because it just seems like the crowd of people who are like grew up with it are like really stuck in like what they hope it'll be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know why it is, because I mean it's fascinating to me. It's like why I wanted to have this conversation all day was like, because I'm like, it's fascinating to me, and it was one of the reasons why I made my movie, was like just because I was like, I feel like there's people out there who don't get the kind of superhero movie that like they would want to see. Like I think a lot of the people that really like the People's Joker are people like you who aren't super familiar with comic book movies. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I think I also just, I think for me, it's that thing I go back to of just like, none of these movies replace the thing I like. Like Greta Gerwig's Little Women didn't replace Little Women.
Yeah.
You know, like I just don't, in the same way that like The People's Joker isn't a threat to Joker 2019 or other trans movies, that I think we just live in a time where people take this shit a little too seriously. Like just art in general. It's very moralized. It's very infantile too. It's like, it's not like it was when I was a kid. It's like, you're in your fucking 30s, grow up. I mean, the Western world is falling apart. And people will point to art and artists as being the problem before they ever point to the people that are like in charge. Like it just is. Yeah.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
I think Alfred said it best.
Yeah. Alfred. Like
that is the craziest. I'm going to send that to everybody I know because like
it's mind-blowing.
The next time somebody says something to the effect of like, you don't like The Dark Knight, I'm gonna be like, hold on. We're finding Pine's fucking
this.
review because like this is everything. And like, I don't know, it's just
it's one of those things also that like I had just rewatched it like a few weeks ago when I read that, and like I had like listened to him saying that and everything, and I was kind of like, it didn't like it strike a like chord in me like, oh, that was so meaningful, but I just didn't really like think about it. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I'm like, wait, what the hell was that story? Like this bandit who's like, all he's done wrong is like give away the gems or whatever to his fellow village people and not succumb to the British people is the evil.
No, and that's like what's interesting too, because like I don't think I've watched that movie a handful of times. I don't think I was listening to that speech anytime until you were reciting it from that review. And all I could think about this time was like, the kid is holding a gem because it's pretty. There's no the value attached to it is that it's beautiful. And like that to me, that's like such a useful metaphor for this stuff too, especially for Suicide Squad, where it's just like aesthetically, that night I saw that, I just wanted to go to a theater with my friends and have like candy and soda.
And there's so much value in that too. Yeah.
It's not. And I also think, I mean, I think you can do that. I think you can like have a silly genre movie that also says something at the same time, but I just don't think it's necessary. I just don't think, I think the other piece too is just like the day these movies stopped being for kids was when it all fell apart. Like I really do. Like, and I don't really know when that happened. I guess like after the Schumacher Batmans, people were like suddenly like, we need to start taking these things seriously. This is out of control. Cause like before that, like the Tim Burton ones, like they were PG-13, but they were still for kids. They had toys, you know.
What is your movie rated? Does it have a rating?
We didn't submit it to the MPAA.
Oh, okay.
We did. It did get reviewed by this like parent advisory website though, and
I've seen that before.
But they loved it.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
The only problem they had with it was characters smoke cigarettes in it, and the only reason I did was because of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Oh my god, it was even more extreme in this one.
This one,
it was like 98% of the movie was smoking.
I saw a Letterboxd review that was like, it was like he's manifesting cigarettes.
Oh yeah, wait, one more thing I wanted to say about that movie was like in the first one, I mean the first time we watched it, when he like blows the smoke into her mouth through the bars, and it's the most like Tumblr gif ever of a moment. And the first time I laughed at that because I was like, I felt like it was trying too hard, like to make a romantic moment. And the second time when I had seen the whole thing, I was like, maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but I thought that it was actually like making fun of that.
I think it is.
Yeah, because it's like this is what like teenagers do. Like she's like a teenager. She's like in the mindset of like a teenager who like wants attention and wants to be cool and wants to like be different and edgy because she grew up in a very normal environment, and so she can't really be edgy inherently because she'll always just be this like rich kid, right, with like a stable home. And so then this is such like just like getting the smoke from him and the like this very cinematic moment. That's like so what she wants. Like
it's complete.
You know?
I mean, that's my read on it.
Yeah,
I
didn't hit me until the second time, and I was like, oh, that's kind of
sense.
Genius.
It's so because they're so gross. It's the same thing as like their sex scene not being glamorous at all.
I loved the sex scene
because it's like literally like I even think there's a moment where she's like, "Oh, can you do this?"
Yeah,
like,
he says,
"Kick it hard."
No, he says, "Can you do it?" To like because he can't like get it inside of her,
God,
and she's like, yeah, and she kind of moves.
Yeah, it's so like. Oh my
I mean, that
gosh.
was such a choice. Like, there was no music. It was not sexy at all.
No,
and like she's trying to make it sexy by like putting the makeup on him and everything. She's like glorifying it, and then you're like, I loved it that it was like so not sexy. There was a review I saw that I didn't read that was like, the sexy made me not like sex. It's just like, but I just loved it because I was like, oh, this is how Arthur Fleck would have sex. Like this is what would happen.
it'd be something we wouldn't feel comfortable watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, wait, I just have another one for Suicide Squad by Clementine, who said, no movie should have this many songs. I was blown away by the amount of songs.
It's so many, and it's like every genre.
Yeah, it's like Kanye. It was like
a cover by Fallout Boy, a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody by Fallout Boy. It's the most. It's so studio brained. I think like it's just so like. And I do think it all had to do with Guardians of the Galaxy coming out. Like I think it was just they were like, oh, that just made like $1 billion. We gotta like turn this like edgy villain.
It was like too dark for them.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think that's all I want to read.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about Suicide Squad or Jared Leto?
No, I mean, I just think everybody should give it another chance, and I just want to thank you for giving me the chance to talk about Batman this much.
Of course, this is so fun.
Yeah, no, this was like I've never been afforded this opportunity, and normally it's surrounded by a lot of annoying questions about my movie that I've been asked a billion times too, and this was like. I don't know, like I thank you for doing this. This was awesome.
Of course.
I learned a lot releasing that movie about myself and kind of just like having boundaries and making something personal too, and being like, how many times interviewers were like, has your mom seen it? Like why did you wait to come out so late? Stuff like that. Like all the times too were like they them Joker the Harlequin, and it'd be like, you hear people calling her. I'm going by her. It's like it was very just it fucks with your brain. It really does. And it's like it's so weird. And I've now come back around to just being like, it's fun. Like the movie changed my life, and it was exactly what I needed to do. And now I can just like hang out and talk about Batman and
that's good. Stuff. It's lost the like, or you've gotten past the part where it's like so like intense every time. Yeah, and like vulnerable.
And just I think it was just I just wasn't prepared. I just was. I'm just a kid. I'm not. I had a certain naivety that was like, oh, like. It won't be exhausting talking about my trauma movie for like entire press days and stuff. But I mean, it's like, it's funny too, because like I would have these moments. I had a really bad podcast experience that maybe I'll talk about someday.
Yeah, please tell me.
It didn't come out. But it was, I won't say what happened. I mean, I'll tell you off mic, but it was a very bad experience. And I like, was freaking out afterwards, and I was like calling my publicists and the distributor, then I like caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I was wearing Joker makeup, and I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, this is just,
Oh
yeah.
man.
And like, it just to tie a bow in it, it's like, I think it is the reason why there should be more new takes on these characters, because I think there's potential. There was a healing factor in making, you know, a movie with a bunch of stupid Batman characters.
Good.
My brain is broken. I'm sorry
And
if I
there's
just
this, like,
talked for 20
harsh
minutes.
No, that was great. I guess that's it.
Okay, cool. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was so fun. All right. Oh, do you want to like tell everyone where to find you? Or
Oh
whatever?
yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram.
Letterboxd.
On Letterboxd.
Do you have a TikTok?
TikTok. They're all Vera Drew 22
Why 22?
because it rhymes.
Okay.
And it's my birthday, May 22nd.
Oh, wait, are you Gemini?
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, okay. That's why we were able to talk about Batman.
Yeah, that's why we talked for so long.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And thepeoplesjoker.com. It's available on VOD, Blu-ray, VHS, and DVD.
Yay. Is it gonna be like streaming anywhere, or maybe that'll happen at some point?
I think so. I think so.
But right now you can like rent it on.
Right now you can
different
rent
sites,
it and buy it. And I can't. I mean, look, it's expensive. I get it. The Blu-rays cost way too much money, but we have so many special features on it. And,
I love that.
And the VHS is pretty cheap, and it's like a fun way to watch this movie because it's very. You saw it at
Yeah,
Whammy.
I loved it. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh wow, so professional.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.